Wow, here it is. It's a Friday. We made it, Rebecca.
We did. Week 2. Here we are.
Week 2, 12 days in since restaurants have been shut down. Rebecca Berry, Jay Parker, myself, Greg Hollenbach. A big lineup show for you today. Rebecca, let's do this. We are going to cover a lot of ground, but I heard a great interview. Dr. Blanchet, Dr. William Blanchet from Boulder Internal Medicine. We're going to get another doctor on today, but we're going to talk about the what can you and what can't you do. Or should you take your already, what do they call them, recyclable bags to the store? Is that responsible?
I don't think so, because unless you're washing it every time you go somewhere, I think it holds on to particles and whatever the virus can grasp to. So, but I guess that's up to the doctor.
Well, I don't know if it's up to him, but I bet he'll have some knowledge. What's today? National Whiskey Day or something like that, Jay?
Is it? Please tell me it is.
It's National Whiskey Day, and Meagan Miller, the president of the Distillers Guild, and also works with Talnua, is going to join us today. Tony Roberts, Proud Souls Barbecue. It's the weekend. It should be fairly nice. It doesn't mean that you can't backyard barbecue, because you can still do that. The little joys in life is what you need to keep you going, as we've just had that kind of just take a deep breath, long week type of thing. Arapahoe County DA George Brauchler is going to join us in the next segment to talk about all of these new are these new mandates, stay home, what you can do, what you can't do, are they enforcing them, and what happens if you go to court or virtual court, or is there a court?
Who knows? I mean, I've seen more police on the street than I have in a long time, really watching. I think you can kind of tell when people are coming and going versus just hanging out, which, you know.
Kevin Galaba will join us, friends and family, doing great work, those folks. And then we have the Whiskey Sisters, Felicia and Stephanie Ohnmacht. I don't know if you've met the Whiskey Sisters, but they're suppliers of grain to a lot of distilleries. So we want to just, how's it going on down the line? How are they being affected as well? But right now, this is what we want to do. We go to our spirit guide. There she is, Dr. Sara Metz, Dr. Baby Yoda. How are you, Doctor?
We have your Baby Yoda in front of you.
Standing out front. We wanted to start the show with you today. Found it very important as we go to the stream and share with everybody. Share this with your friends. You've done such a great job with us the past couple of weeks as we've all kind of been quarantined together. And we need those inspirational kind of up notes as we leave the day. But going into the weekend, Doctor, here it is. I think it's important that we set some kind of goals for the weekend to maintain our health. So as we do that, and we know we have some time down now, you have worked with inmates, Doctor, correct?
I have, yes.
And there's got to be a lot of that stir craziness that happens when you're confined. I'm sure you saw a lot of that working with inmates. What's kind of that consensus with how people feel, human beings in general, when they're just confined?
Yeah, I did. I started out my career working with inmates, and then I got peed on by enough inmates that I decided I would like to change careers a bit. So hopefully none of you are peeing on each other, unless but I think confinement.
Not yet.
No, it's not happening.
Give us time.
I think confinement crazy things to the psyche, and we know that the more stir crazy you are, the more uncomfortable that can be internally. And so I think you were spot in really establishing specific goals and structure, especially as we go into the weekend. You've got a couple days, hopefully, to reset and to really kind of set a new goal for yourself and some structure. And I think that's huge. Because, again, all this confinement, especially folks who are typically really going and like to be around people, the huggers of the world and the social people, all those introverts, this painful to people who really need physical support.
This is an interesting thing because generally we have really great audio from you, Doctor, but it's popping in and out on your end, and I think you're close enough, but I'm just wondering if
maybe Nick did something.
Well, I know that we can't talk when you talk, because if we do that, it'll cut you off altogether. But let's hear you for a second here, Doctor.
Well, I'm on the right. We have a weird internet around here, but it should be pretty good. Let me throw.
Oh, you're sounding good right there.
There we go. Don't move. All right.
Yeah, that's good. Just go over that again, doctor, if you could.
So I think, you brought up a good point that when people feel really isolated and confined, that really can take a toll on their mental health, especially the extroverts, the huggers, the people that really need that physical support system around them. If they don't have that, it really takes a toll. And so we've talked about it all week, but really helping people to identify what are some goals, what are some things you can do to really take care of yourself that are maybe ones that you haven't tried before, but you could get creative and try something new this weekend.
Okay, help us out. Let's do this together because I think we all need homework. What's some homework that we can do as we're around, family that you might just be like, man, if I get another moment in time with you, I'm just going to go berserk. How you can even find solace within your home that's busy, that type of thing. Can we set some homework for us right now to be able to say, okay, this is how we're going to make it through the weekend. And you know what? We're not going to come out of the weekend stressed out. We're going to come out of the weekend actually refreshed and relaxed. So to make sure that as we physical distance, that our social distancing is actually narrowing the gap and we can make better and stronger relationships, but be able to separate them and compartmentalize them into a box.
I am ready for you. I have all sorts of homework. So this is a choose your own homework assignment segment. So I'll give you a lot of options and people can kind of gravitate towards what they like. You had asked me earlier in the week for some podcasts that I like. And I found 2 that I think people could maybe have as their homework. 10% Happier. 10% Happier by Dan Harris is one. Dan Harris is a reporter. He had a panic attack live on air while he was doing a segment a few years back. And ever since then, he's really wanted to help people manage their anxiety and find kind of little things they can do to stay happier. So that's a really great one. Brene Brown, I told you guys, is my girl crush. She's amazing. Her podcast is called Unlocking Us. So it's another great one.
Do that one again. That one crackled on us.
Brene Brown, her podcast is called Unlocking Us. It's a great option for folks. She does a lot of work on connection and helping people to stay connected, which is exactly what we're wanting people to do right now. So that's another good one. One that is starting today, if people solidly want to go back to school, that kind of homework. So Yale, the most popular class of all time at Yale University was called The Science of Well-Being. And they are actually now offering that class for free online. Anyone can sign up. They already have 1.5 million people who have signed up to take that class. And it actually starts today. So anyone who wants homework and week-to-week assignments and things they can do can actually take that class. I was actually looking at it earlier today, and I thought one of the assignments for week 2 was really cool. And it talks about choosing something each day that you want to savor. Really be very mindful in the moment. Think about something like the last time you had a really great cup of coffee, right? And you just sat and you enjoyed the cup of coffee and nothing else mattered. You just really, mind melded with your cup of coffee. And it talks about, for the next week, really choosing one thing each day to stop and enjoy, fully enjoy. So that's one of the assignments that's kind of in this class that people can take. So look into that.
Rebecca, what do you fully enjoy?
I actually, you know what? I did sign up for the Yale class. I did. So that is my homework this weekend because I haven't had time. But I signed up early last week. I enjoy a lot of things, actually. I think I'm very fortunate in that realm. But the new enjoyment I found is walking around my neighborhood in Cap Hill and looking at all the old houses and looking at all the haunted houses around there. So if you go online, you can find where they're all at.
Are you allowed to do that under a lockdown?
Well, you can go for a walk.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's some of the reasons why I want to know what's going on, really, what you can and cannot do. As you're confined, just activities that you can do, Jay, you know what Jay's doing right now? He's jogging in place.
That counts. Totally counts.
He's not doing that, Doctor. Did you see Jay? I totally lied on that one.
Yeah, no, I couldn't actually see that. Really? Is he doing that? We're getting...
He started his homework early.
That's right. So again, people around us and boundaries, and we're trying to do that. So, social media, I think people are consuming that more than ever right now. Should we limit ourselves to that, Doctor?
I think yes. Yes and no, I guess what I would say. We're so inundated right now with the negative media. It's everywhere. If you're specifically using social media to connect with people and to find, but try to find that balance and get away from all the negative, way too much of it. Again.
Yeah, your mic just popped in and out again right there.
Wah, wah.
There it is. You're back.
Not leaving you guys. Like I was saying, I think as long as people are really trying to find ways of using media in a positive way, then I think that it can be positive, but try to stay away from all that negativity. There's so much there.
Yeah, there is a lot. What are you and Mr. Nick doing these days, this weekend?
This weekend, so we're finally ending our quarantine, I think. We're finally on the side. We're going out to one of our favorite local places, the marketplace this evening. Dinner from a do that.
This audio is killing us.
We've lost you.
We're used to hearing you so crystal clear. I almost want to just take 10 or 15 seconds to have you click off of it and come back into the room, or if you think it's the internet.
I'll try.
Yeah, Doctor, do me a favor. Exit the room, restart your phone, and we'll kill a couple minutes.
She's on her.
Restart your computer. Just restart whatever's connected.
I always like having the doctor.
She's the best. I love that we kicked her off on Friday. I think we should continue to do that. Jay, what do you enjoy? What are you going to enjoy this weekend?
I enjoy.
What are you going to enjoy, Jay?
Putting names into this computer. So
do you really?
That's what I have to do right now. So forgive me. I don't have anything exciting or groundbreaking for you.
But we've got another show to do tomorrow. Jay, take a second and talk about our Saturday show right here at Studio Kitchen, Colorado.
Take a second and do. I actually have some. Can you do that? Can you tell people about our show? I actually have to do something right now.
What are you doing right now?
I have to put in all these names, these late names that we have for guests.
To keep you involved. Thank you for tap dancing, Doctor. How are you?
Hey, any better?
Oh, much better. That's great.
And it's all better.
Oh no, it actually not better. I know.
And you're our favorite person to talk to.
Have you been doing a lot of interviews? You've worn your laptop out, Doctor.
Giving up on me, I guess. It's going to punk out on me. Sorry.
I think it is going to punk out on you.
I mean, worst thing is maybe just do your phone.
I'll try that. I'll come back in 2 minutes.
Do it. Thanks.
So, Greg, what's on tap for tomorrow?
What's on tap for tomorrow? I don't know. I don't know what's on tap. So the Modern Eater Show, if you're just tuning in for the first time and seeing what we're doing here, the Modern Eater Show, generally, we are a Saturday evening program from 6 to 8 p.m. We broadcast from our studio, which is a commercial kitchen. We try and have some of the best culinarians come in here, some of the best industry people as far as products, producers, purveyors, breweries, distilleries, farmers, ranchers, you name it. If it's Colorado and hyper-local, we love to hear from folks. We have tons, 5 years of content on themoderneater.com. Just shows. It'll give you a great idea of that. Basically, just try and be that voice for local folks and their businesses and see if we can't connect the dots, bring people together. I think we've done a fairly good job over the years.
I think you guys have done incredible, and I just got involved within really fully the last, 4 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. But it gives a voice to our local industry, and it's great.
They popped up at the same time.
We've got 2 people coming up now.
They popped up at the same time. Okay, Sara Metz, we're finishing up with you, Doctor. I think you see somebody familiar on the other side of the camera, don't you?
Hello, see you Sarah. Too. Who am I talking to?
George.
Good old George.
Oh,
how are you, George?
Can you see George? You can't see George.
I can't see George, but I can envision George. I know George very well, so I know what he looks like.
He's a handsome man. Do you guys mind sticking around with each other for a moment?
Sure.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Here's the thing, doctors, turn your phone sideways so it'll open up the full camera, please.
Wow, and you just gave DA Brauchler a kind of a promotion there. You called him a doctor.
Well, I'm a doctor of law.
Oh, well, okay,
Brauchler.
doctor, yours isn't working, so you just keep it like that. DA, you're good.
I like to hear that.
Joining us on the show, the DA George Brauchler. We've worked with each other for a long time. Probably the highlight of my career is when I had the Greg Hollenbach show, and there was one time when you filled in for me. And so you filled in on my show one time. I think it was a Sunday show. You filled in on the show there, and actually a curse word got out over the air. Do you remember that one?
That was my my lesson in what the dump button is for. Learned that the hard way.
George Brauchler with us and Dr. Sara Metz. You guys kind of obviously know each other in the same realm, but George, as we're talking to Sara right now, we're talking about kind of the health behind what's going on right now, our mental health. Is there anything that you need right now, mental health wise?
Don't get us started on that.
Listen, a quick story. When I landed in Iraq a long time ago, and the fellows picked me up at the airport there near Tikrit and drove me to the base, one of the things the sergeant turned around and said to me was, "Hey, sir, just to adjust your expectations here, in Iraq, every day is Monday." And I said, I don't even know what that means. They said, you will in a couple weeks. And after a couple weeks of relatively routine, do this, do that, sometimes the food changed, but the clothes, the people, the locations were almost always the same. You lose track of what day of the week it is. There is no Saturday or Sunday or Monday. And that's how I'm starting to feel here at home. Like, is it Friday? And how the hell do I know? I mean, what are the telltale signs that it's going to be the weekend? There's nothing. No kids sports, no practices. No. So I feel like that's part of the stir crazy thing, is every day is beginning to look just like the last one.
Sound familiar, doctor?
Yeah, it's so true. Again, you lose all that structure. You lose all the specific things that you do to kind of structure your day, your week. That's all out the window. So it's definitely tricky to establish any sort of norm right now.
Well, it's interesting as the new normal, guys, and we've heard that term a lot. And D.A. Brauchler, I saw you have a show on KNUS right now, 710.
I do, 6 to 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. I
say get in on that. I love hearing your programming. Can you speak freely on that show? I mean, you got a job, and then you got a pundit on the other.
Still no curse words. Turns out the FCC thing is everywhere. But yeah, I can talk about whatever I want. As you can imagine, though, the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been so COVID-19 that it's hard to talk about anything else. Not because there isn't other news out there, but people don't care. I mean, I just think people are so freaked out. Like every week there's something new. Like now, we have a statewide shelter in place or stay at home order out there. What does all that mean? How are people adjusting? It's hard to talk about other stuff. I'd love to talk sports. What sports? Right? Yeah. I'd love to talk about movies. Well, something I saw on Netflix, maybe, but it's challenging to not talk coronavirus.
Well, just a minute ago, I actually want you probably just to interview yourself, if you could there. Some of the tone of what people are asking, what can we and can we not do? And then how are you enforcing these things?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, this statewide order and some of the local ones, and out here in Douglas County where I live, and I have Arapahoe County as well, there was a tri-county order yesterday that was short-lived because the governor kind of came over the top of it and issued an order that was pretty similar, and then Tri-County removed their order. So the state order is really the one that we're stuck with. And it's not oppressive in the way that you can't leave your house for any reason at any time. You're still allowed to do essential functions, which include things like some of the normal activities of daily life, like you can go outside and work out, just not with a big group. You can go grocery shopping. You can go to a bike shop, man, and get your bike fixed. You can get your car fixed. You can go get gas. You can take care of a loved one who needs it. You can participate in almost anything that helps out in the community. And there are a lot of other exceptions that you can imagine for healthcare workers at every level of healthcare. You just can't get a haircut, man. That's why I'm wearing a hat. I feel like I'm an unkept. I want a haircut. I feel like I'm going to end up with a Willie Nelson here.
You're shaving, though.
Over.
You're shaving.
If this camera were better, you'd see. And again, I'm blessed/cursed with genes that mean if I don't shave since Reagan leaves office, which is the case right now, you can't tell. I have just a little bit of light stubble there, and it'll be that way forever. Very Cliff Clavin, if you remember the Cheers episode where
Sure.
they took a bet as to who could grow the fullest beard. I'll be the Cliff Clavin. I'll have 5 dangly little hairs off my chin, and that's about it.
I miss your humor, George. I really do.
Thank you, man. In terms of the enforcement, and I know Aurora PD has bought off on this, ACSO, the Sheriff's Office in Arapahoe County, Douglas County Sheriff's Office, all my sheriffs. And that is the last thing in the world we want this to end up being is some vehicle to criminalize people and their conduct. This is really intended to be about educating people to do right by each other and by themselves, and to make some smart decisions so that we can get out of this and start ticketing people for real crimes again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I want nobody to commit crimes ever, but if the police are going to be called into action, let it be for something other than, hey, it's a group of 10 people who are closer than 6 feet together. So we, as of at least the first full day of the order, we hadn't scratched out a single summons jurisdiction-wide into criminal court. And my hope is I can say that same thing when this thing wraps up.
Yeah. At this point in time, are courts working as normal? Are they bringing folks in, or is it a virtual court? Do I have to most Coloradans have to put their bong away before the video camera is on them? How does that work?
Well, a couple of things. It's an interesting question. Look, not virtual courts. There are things we're having to do with some video appearances from counsel because the public defenders had somebody either on the doorstep of or get diagnosed with the COVID-19. And so they have closed down their offices for 2 weeks. But we still have these constitutionally mandated appearances. And you want to have those, right? You can't close down the court and say, hey, if you happen to get arrested during this pandemic, suck it, because you're stuck in jail until this thing is over. You can't do that.
Right.
So you have to have an operating court system for that and to treat some other things. You know, what's going to be a challenge here is the Supreme Court Chief Justice issued an order that said, we're not going to have jury trials before 15 May. Well, that's okay until you have a speedy trial issue where someone has a right, either statutory or constitutional, to get their case tried. And what if they want to be the stick in the mud that says, no, I'm not going to waive my right to a speedy trial just because of your pandemic. I want my day in court. Then we got to jump through some other hoops about how to deal with that. Now, we haven't gotten there yet. And my hope is we don't, but these are some of the things we have to deal with. Bond settings are important. You can't just leave people in jail. Some cases we're able to resolve, and we might have resolved them and gotten somebody out of the jail. But if we can't go to court to resolve it, then they just sit in jail. I mean, there's a real focus right now on making sure that the only folks who are in jail are ones that pose the most immediate risk to the public safety. So the courts are operating, but much reduced from what they normally are.
Yeah, Arapahoe County DA George Brauchler here with us, and this is actually really cool. Generally, we're talking about food and beverage, and the last time you saw me, you probably can tell I've been imbibing a little bit, George. That's right. Listen, so along those lines, we're hearing a lot of early release, too, for inmates, and how is COVID with the infrastructure of prisons and city and county? How is that working out right now?
Yes. 2 things that are working simultaneously but not together. One is the prison system, which is where you go when you're convicted of a felony, and jail, which is where you go when you're convicted of a misdemeanor. The county jails are now prohibited from transferring anybody to the Department of Corrections. So even if we could resolve some of these cases where someone's languishing in jail and the sheriffs are motivated to want to create bed space for a couple of important reasons, even if they pled that case out and said this person agrees they're going to go to prison for a year, 2 years, or whatever, DOC is saying, don't send them here. We don't want them because we're trying to limit the potential spread of this, and we're trying to create bed space ourselves. That's a bit problematic. DOC received some huge discretion from the governor by virtue of his order yesterday that got very little coverage that allows them to skip over some important administrative things, like when inmates engage in misconduct, they no longer have to lose earn time, which makes me wonder, why are we doing that? Why are we trying to put the misconduct inmates in a position to get out earlier, but whatever. And then on the jail side, we're taking a hard look at anybody who's on bond for something under $1,000, as well as serving a remainder of a sentence that has 30 days or less in jail or work release. We're looking hard at just getting them out, putting them back out into the system. I'll tell you something troubling is we'd like to do that more with people that we think we can monitor, like through an ankle monitor. But because installing the ankle monitor requires in-person contact, the folks that normally do that as part of something we call pretrial supervision, they say, well, we're not going to do it anymore. So the question is, do we leave them in jail, or are we just cutting these people loose? And does that put us at risk? I mean, it's just, we've never been in this place before, and we're learning a whole bunch of new lessons.
Weird a time that we're living in right now. I think some of the consensus, again, DA Arapahoe County, George Brauchler joins us. A few more counties in there, but just too long, DA.
Yeah.
Forget detail.
Elbert and Lincoln are in there too.
Thank you, sir. It strikes me as right now everybody is acting right. They're trying to do their best. They're being patient. But as we're 12 days, or how many days? 12 days since, I only know since restaurants have shut down. 12 days since restaurants have shut down internally. But the stay-at-home mandate, what's that, just a couple days in?
Well, it's one full day since 6 a.m. yesterday. Is
one full day. Let's just jump and our minds go to, well, okay, fine, that's one day, but let's look into the crystal ball 30 days ahead. People start to get a little impatient, intolerant. Is there preparation for these types of things to anticipate that maybe there will be a little bit of chaos?
I don't think it's going to be a switch that gets flipped where it just goes from every normal day thing like this into
berserk.
Yeah, berserk. I don't see that. I see it progressing. But I mean, that's going to be a challenge, right? I mean, how long can a free people who are used to being able to do whatever they want, whenever they want to do it, how long can they survive, at least mentally, for these conditions? You talked about the misconduct piece. I agree that crime has decreased since this pandemic. I'm not convinced it's because people are acting better or because we're just not investigating and charging people with crimes.
Ooh, interesting.
I can tell you that, yesterday we had a couple crimes in Aurora, even where they're related to this. Somebody shows up to commit a robbery wearing one of the protective masks. We had another woman show up to a place. And
wait a minute, are you kidding me? Somebody's using protect. Yeah, you're going to see that, right?
Yep. And we had another woman who is somewhere in Aurora, ran into a place and not only grabbed some money out of the register, but then stole their paper towels and then took off running down the street.
This is what it's come to.
I don't know, but I don't think that's what it's come to for 99.9% of Colorado, but this is the kind of stuff that you could start to see more of. I hope not. I get it. Toilet paper's scarce, right? I mean, every time I've gone to Target, it looks like it's the end of the world in the paper aisle. But please, come on. There's got to be some periodicals around your place that you could go to. Maybe an autobiography you didn't like, something. But steel paper towels, come on.
A roll lasts me 2-3 months, George. We're guys. Come on. I mean, how much do you need? But,
right.
Rebecca, you probably use a roll a day, don't you?
Hey.
Every third time.
Only when Andy's around.
Only when our boyfriend's around. DA, it's interesting times that we're living in. And I encourage people, if you like more of this conversation, and you've always been that kind of guy to where you will speak your mind. And I know there's a lot of bureaucracy around you and other special interests that push left and right. But you really just run it right down the middle, and I've always appreciated that about you.
Thanks, man. Some people will call that transparency, and I believe in it. My communications director at the office calls it reckless. But either way, the information's getting out there.
That's right. You tweet, too. You put out some tweets.
I do, yeah. That's another one where I think every once in a while I'll get a separate text from my communications director who'll be like, please stop.
Yeah. How's the family, DA?
They're good, all healthy, and that's all you can really count on right now. I mean, what we're navigating is in this week right after spring break is how much of this quote-unquote remote learning is going to be effective. And these kids plow through whatever they're given within the first hour of the day. And so for my 10 and 12-year-old, they're looking for things to set fire to and stab with scissors at about 10 a.m., The older two, the 15 and the 17-year-old, have a little bit more work to do, but still it's so disconnected from the day-to-day interactions with your teachers and your fellow students. I just don't know how long this can be effective.
Yeah. I agree. It's interesting. I was asked, Andy's got an almost 11-year-old and almost 15-year-old, and he said that a lot of the teacher time is only like 30 to 45 minutes. And so outside of that, what do they do? I mean, they do their work, and then what? They're so used to the social aspect and sports, and it's going to be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you if your family's happy and healthy right now. We got to look inside the refrigerator there, George.
I was going to ask, but you beat me to it.
What's going on in there?
Yeah, what's going on? But, all right, you've got some stuff to play with on the fridge. What's in there? Okay, show us something local. Do you have anything local in there?
Something local, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Wow, you got some food in there, my man. Oh, you got burger. That's a commodity right now.
And I want to confess, and maybe this is where Dr. Metz could explain this. I went to the store to look for something. I go by the meat aisle, and there's a sign that says, "Due to high demand, customers can only take 3 ground beef products." I had no intention of buying any ground beef products, but then I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I can only have 3? Jesus, I better get 3.
Yep, it's in here.
I bought 3. Like, I think it's with toilet paper, right? Like if you go to the store on any normal day and one guy is grabbing up all the toilet paper, you think dude's either really physically ill, like things are falling out of him, or you think that he's crazy, right? But when you see all your neighbors scrambling for the toilet paper, you're like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not scrambling for toilet paper? What am I missing? Like, is there something about COVID-19 I haven't read about yet? And so there's some weird psychology that goes on there that makes you do stuff that normally you just wouldn't do.
Yeah. And the irony is no symptom is related to the stomach.
Nope.
So not one. So you're all just doing the normal stuff. Are you eating that much more, or are you TPing each other's houses?
It's fair to say that this is just scaring the shit out of everybody.
Literally.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. I just and right now I feel comfortable with our stash.
Yeah.
But I guess of all the things to start to run out of, other than water and air, if I started running low on that, I would get a little panicked. I'd be like, what in the world where do we go? What are we going to do next? You know, which T-shirt do I hate the most?
With my background in talk.
That got Jay. That
got Jay. And then it took Jay's laugh for me to engage with that. But, which T-shirt would that be?
Hey, listen,
a Raiders T-shirt?
Oh, I hope so.
Clearly the Raiders one, but then that becomes some kind of a meme or something. I get that sent out.
That was brilliant.
First of all, thank you for your time and the laughs. Really, you got to have that. We call it grab a laugh when you can get a laugh right now. But what are some of the things that you just want to say to the general public as you're exiting to either, take a deep breath, make you feel better, or do you not? Or do you want to just scare the hell out of people? You pick.
No, I don't want to do that at all. In fact, I mean, the reason I've been trying to go everywhere I can to be as public with how inapplicable so much of this is to the criminal justice system is I don't want people to be afraid of their government, especially during this time. I need people to feel like they can still pick up the phone and ask for help and ask for questions, answers to questions, and not run the risk of getting criminalized during this period of time. There are going to be some knuckleheads out there and some people who are just so overtly defiant that they leave little room for anything else. But I think that's going to be few and far between. And my hope is that everybody can just work together to get through this. Again, today's an easy day. I don't want to make this sound like the SEALs, where the only easy day was yesterday. But I think this is only going to get progressively more challenging for people who are otherwise diagnosably sane, because it's just going to get weirder and weirder as you find that every day looks like the last. I just don't know what I'm going to do. Am I going to be in the attic of our house with a gun, looking for
bug out kit?
Something. I don't know. Go streaking down my street, around naked, screaming, house on fire, house on fire. I don't know. I really don't know.
So, George, I have to ask you a lighthearted question. What's your favorite gadget in your kitchen now that we've seen your fridge?
Oh, Jesus, the favorite gadget in the kitchen. Huh?
He doesn't cook.
The one that's the most popular that I use is the little hand blender thing, which you never thought that. But
like a bullet?
Yeah, that's right. I blend the hell out of so many things. You'd think I was toothless or something, but no, I love the little shakes or something that it makes.
I'd say you're in the wrong occupation, but what you do very well. This community, I love you to death, my friend. Promote the show for tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're good. Shocker, there's something called COVID-19 out there. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have on, I'm trying to get this doc on who we've had the last few weeks, who's super smart on this epidemiology stuff. And then a segment that I've been pushing that's really honestly gotten better feedback than anything else is Get to Know Your Teen. And I have my 17-year-old daughter normally in studio, but she's going to call in to talk about, look, this is what life is like this week. And usually it's under normal circumstances, but lately it's been under COVID-19. I'm going to have Senator Gardner on in the 8 o'clock hour.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And here, I got to tell you something, and you can throw this to Senator Gardner, and I'm not going to name names, but Senator Gardner has been working very close with some restaurateurs for some very important things to them as far as on a federal level of getting some relief and what that would look like. But he's crossing party lines with some folks that he probably would have never given him a look. And he's impressing people right now. And so the bipartisan politics that I'm seeing right now is really refreshing right now, George.
I do too. I have my concerns about this stimulus bill. And if you give me 1 second, let me tell you, there are people out there who are hurting, who need this money and need it now. And the things that have delayed it are inexplicable to me. I don't understand why $250 million has to go to the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts during a time when people are losing their jobs. But here's another one. They want to offer money, and I get it, to people who make less than $75,000 a year. I understand that. But government employees, like the majority of my employees, are still getting paid even through this pandemic, even though they're at home working from home. Why are we sending them a check? This isn't to say I don't love them. I just why don't we send even more money to people who are not getting their paycheck?
George, I am with you on this 100%. So I actually had this conversation the other day because I don't fall into the bracket currently. Thankfully, I'm still employed with my current company.
Yeah.
However, if I were to receive a stimulus check, I would donate it 100% back to our industry, my brother who's in the industry, people who need it more than I do. Yeah. Just because you're not getting the income, but you're still working, or you choose not to work or not to be employed right now, I don't feel you deserve that check. And this is where it gets a little touchy.
Who's double dipping?
But who's double dipping?
Who's not?
And who's working hard for it?
And it's too hard to vet that, I mean, how that's going to happen.
You could say definitively that government employees, full-time government employees, they're still getting paid. I mean, unless you're a city and your tax base is entirely sales revenue and sales tax driven, and that could have an impact down the road, so you make some furlough decisions. But look, my office, there's nothing that can alter the amount of money that Arapahoe County collects this year because it's all real estate driven. And even if the market tanks, it's based on an evaluation from 2 years ago. So every one of my employees is going to get paid their full salary this year, whether they go back into work or not. So the issue is, why give them an additional amount of money that we could throw towards people who are getting hit?
Well, the hopes is, right, that they'll go buy a TV or go out
or they'll donate it and do the right thing,
Well, where would you go buy the TV? They close down the malls.
Costco's open. They sell everything.
Okay, good point. Good point. Costco's open.
I have to go for a prescription tomorrow. I'm already pained by it, but
George, you're picking up fans off of our audience here, and more people are saying, okay, how can I listen to more George?
One, you could get arrested and come to court. I can see that. That's the hardest, most fun way to do it. The other is to tune in to 7 to 10 KNUS tomorrow morning, 6 to 9. And we have podcasts and all that stuff. Greg,
the George Show.
Yeah, you've been doing it longer than I have. There are podcasts out there to download and listen.
Hey, man, don't make me seem older than you.
Nope,
I've been doing this for 2 weeks, okay?
and a good job. George, it strikes me the Know Your Teen segment. I'll bet you that's good stuff right there, man. And so 47 years, that's how I've been walking around on this earth. When I was a kid, stop it. I know you're close, man.
I'm over.
Are you over? Well, when we were...
Part of the hat is, one, I haven't combed my hair, but two, that is not blonde anymore. That has gone
Is that great?
Oh, buddy.
Oh, we got a silver fox on the show.
Good job. Looking good.
Thank you for picking that animal of all the others out there.
When we were kids, you remember
silver beaver doesn't sound nearly as
Oh, no. That's a whole other show for a whole other day.
Yeah, check out the silver muskrat.
The silver sod poodle.
You can tell it's Friday. When we were kids, man, it was the Cold War, and they have us hide underneath our desks to avoid nuclear fallout. Remember that? How are kids handling this right now? Are they scared? Are they terrified?
No, my kids aren't scared yet. I think they're more frustrated, like don't understand why we can't still go out and see folks. I think they appreciate it, but first off, when you reach those teen years, especially as a dude, from about 13, 14 to 25 for most, you lose all your common sense. You believe that you're bulletproof and impervious to everything. And you're the guy that's standing on the beach being interviewed by CNN going, no one's going to take away my right to party, man. I'm not, if you've seen that video.
Oh, we saw it. Greg.
That just happens. But I don't think scared yet. Here's one other thing I'll throw out to you. If you look at the governor's order, and this is where words matter, and I sure wish that he had coordinated it all with law enforcement before he issued this order. There's a provision of the public health order that's now the law of the land that actually makes it a crime to shake hands. There is a section that says Coloradans shall not. And amongst the things there are, first off, you have to wash your hands for 20 seconds. You have to keep 6 feet of distance, social distancing, and you cannot shake hands. Those are, even though it would never be charged and prosecuted, those are on paper punishable by the same penalties as possessing heroin and methamphetamine and fentanyl.
Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
absolutely, it does. It looks like you're in stride right now, and the show tomorrow, I'm sure, will be on fire. What time? 9 a.m.
6. By God, I wish. No, 6 to 9 a.m. So I'm going to drag myself out of bed and go on the roads and get there. Probably.
You're not doing it at home?
No, I'm not. There's a lot of stuff that you can do from home, and that could be one of them. But their preference is to come in, and there's nobody up there. It's you and you. Like it's you and the TP right behind the glass, and not the good kind. Actually, not the more useful. Sorry. And so no, I'll go in, and they've got a ton of wipes and Purell, and I mean the place looks like you could do surgery in there. But as you know, Greg, the microphone itself probably contains the DNA of a ton of people and several animals. I mean, it's just it's not good.
And if it's the studio Boyles uses, then boy, I've seen some microphones with that guy.
They will carbon test the microphone when he hangs it up.
That's right. We got a word into the show that Trump just signed the stimulus bill.
Okay, he did. All right, well, I guess they're not going to take out that thing about paying government. That's all right. That's okay. It's good enough, I guess. It's only $2 trillion. I mean,
how many zeros is that? I had that. It's like another 2 or 3 more zeros, right?
How many zeros?
How many zeros?
Well, let's see. If billions are 12 zeros, then trillions has to be 15 zeros.
Just printing it, man. Doesn't mean anything.
That's more zeros than there are in the House leadership. Yeah. Hello, buddy.
Oh.
Right well, open the door to hyperinflation, and we'll see what happens next, huh?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I hope not.
I love you, brother. Are you still? Just lastly, the military. Are you still active in any way?
Yeah, I'm still a colonel in the Guard, and our first military judge in the state's history. We just haven't had a court martial in a stretch of time here, so I've been repurposed to do 8 billion other important things, and I keep waiting for the phone to ring and have them say, hey, we need you to go take someone's temperature, or we need you to go do something. The other stuff they have me do periodically is to go down to Northern Command, to work on some, I'm going to call it DSCA, D-S-C-A, Defense Support of Civil Authorities. It's when there's natural or man-made disasters out there that call for military support. We get involved with all that stuff. But so far, nothing yet.
Colonel, we're going to add Senator to that.
Yeah,
at some point.
I think we should add Senator and Doctor. We had Doctor earlier.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
Like it, man. Maybe I could do all that. Does it pay well?
Does it pay
internally? Yes.
Listen,
and can you do it remotely?
Buy toilet paper. And yes.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yes.
George, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much.
Talk to you guys soon. Bye now.
DA, Arapahoe County, George Brauchler right there. Went a little bit long with that.
He's
Did you
great.
enjoy it?
I could talk to him all day.
That's a good one. Yes, we are going to have on Tony Roberts here in just a minute, and he is going to, as we just push kind of the schedule, but that's okay. Tony Roberts, Proud Souls Barbecue and Provisions. He's barbecuing some things up right now, and we just want to peek in on Proud Souls. In the meantime, and in between time, our friend Zach Johnston, the Spice Guy.
This letter.
Should I read just exactly what he
No, cut out some of it
us?
because this is live on our Hot Schedules powered by Fourth Page.
All right, I'll cut out the first sentence of it. But basically, here it is, the Spice Guy. If you don't know the Spice Guy, Zach Johnston, he's a great guy, and his products are even better. Colorado's favorite spice company, and, hell, it might be America's favorite spice company by now. Restaurant chefs and home cooks can still get all of the goods. You don't need to cut off that line. For everyone stuck at home, Google the Spice Guy. He got you a present. He brought my mom a present.
He did. I smelled like his spices all day yesterday, and I was so hungry when I got home.
The spices are all packaged and loaded up for you. He can get them right to your door. You can order online, and, the Spice Guy, and check out the Won't Stay Down box. He's got a Won't Stay Down box. He's so creative. He's a smart guy. The ultimate quarantine spice kit. You're going to use the spices inside of your house, and you want the best around. The only thing that right now is really providing me happiness on a daily basis is some good food.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it warms the soul.
Cooking and eating. The Spice Guy. Obviously, the restaurant business is slow, but you can support the Spice Guy by shopping online with them. Again, just Google the Spice Guy.
You left out the most important part, though, of the five people who are a plus or a minus.
I left that out on purpose. And you just it's a plus by your name.
I know, and Jay got a question mark, which he probably enjoys.
Right now, joining the show right now, it's the, is he there? Okay, Tony Roberts. We're just waiting on his camera to jump in. Proud Souls Barbecue and Provisions. Proud Souls Barbecue and Provisions, they are still operating. They're considered an essential business.
They are, and that's by Homeland Security. So it's not even state-driven.
So as we go into Friday, I think people, you don't want to have the oversight, and I think a lot of people don't, but barbecuing continues and backyard barbecue needs. Tony Roberts, do we have you there, pal? I think his audio's there, but his video's not. So we're just waiting on Tony Roberts and his video. Take a minute. You just said your friends from Hot Schedules powered by Fourth. Could you? Hold on to that.
Yeah, well, hold on.
Tony Roberts, can you hear us, pal?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Greg?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Great.
Hey, Tony.
How's it going?
It's good to see your face, man. It's been a little while.
Is it? I don't know.
You're in Proud Souls. Is this location number 1 or the one that you're building number 2?
This is our location right up the street from you, up here at 25th and Federal. So I'm up here today with Chris and Dan, and the other guys are down in Littleton getting our second location ready to get open. So they're down there working feverishly, and Chris and I are in here serving our customers.
Yeah, you would
Awesome.
you would pick a time like this to start a second location, Tony.
Yeah, perfect timing, huh? It's just the way it worked out. A lot of folks have said that to us. Believe it or not, it's been in the plan since last summer. So we found the building in July of last year, and we've been working feverishly down there with the city of Littleton and everything else, our vendors, suppliers to get this open. So at this point, we have to think long term as a business. We can't, change our plan. Obviously, we're adopting and doing some new things differently. But at this point, we're full steam ahead. We've got a plan as if what's happening right now hadn't happened, even though it has. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get through this as quickly as possible.
Well, you can't put barbecuing on hold, man.
There's no way, especially this time of year, right?
Exactly. It's essential. A lot of our customers and us here at the shop do feel it's essential. We do have a food retail license. So we're lucky enough to be considered essential by the state. And we're able to stay open for that and serve our customers. We have a few guys in here now. One of our delivery drivers, Hudson, just came back. We got 2 drivers out today. They've been out all day, delivering meats, pellets, supplies, grills to folks that don't feel comfortable coming in. So folks have been calling us. We've been loading up orders for them and hitting the road. So we're trying to stay busy. Obviously, our foot traffic in the store is down, but it is nice to service folks in the community, and they've been very supportive of us, which has been great.
Yeah.
So, Tony, I have something for you. Sorry, Greg. Cut you right off.
Please.
I would love to give you a Cambro delivery box provided by Rich O'Brien with Elevation Wraps if you guys need some help on the delivery items so they're just as fresh as if they were when they walked in.
That'd be great. We would appreciate that. So
absolutely. I'll put you on the list and I'll drop one by.
Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. We appreciate that.
That's fantastic. Right now, there's people trying to do the backyard barbecue thing, cook at home more, ingredients. And when I saw this, Tony, I was thrilled because when I saw we now offer free local delivery that includes all supplies you require for your home grilling and barbecue needs, meats, pellets, charcoals, wood, seasonings, sausage, grills, and accessories. So inside of there, I see a couple of things. Number one that stand out for me, spices. You also have Spice Guy spices, right?
Spice Guy spices. Yep, Zach. We worked with Zach. It's probably been about 3 years ago now. If everyone can see this, Zach, we worked with him to put together our own proprietary brand of seasonings. So we sell those in the store, but you can see here, this is what we call soul swine from Zach. We have a beef rub in here called Black Magic, as well as a chicken, poultry, and vegetable rub. Not only do we sell our own line of seasonings and sauces, we sell a wide variety. Let me shift you guys around here. If you can see behind me, kind of our wall of what we have over here. So all those come from different regions of the states, everywhere from the Carolina regions to Texas, to the Midwest, that sort of thing. So it's a little bit of Americana for folks, a lot of transplants that come here to Denver, able to go over to our shelf and see some that reminds them of home. So we'll package those up and deliver them. We've been doing it for forever, and especially in the last few weeks.
That's fantastic. Take me over to your meat cooler.
Cool. So we'll walk into the meat cooler here. We're lucky enough to partner with a few great guys here, Justin at River Bear, Chris Johnson, of course, at Rome. We have Midland Meat, which comes to us from Texas. It's a Wagyu Black Angus cross. So
man.
Ooh, doesn't that make you hungry?
All of our pork products here are Duroc, but you can see here we've got River Bear, Tonali's Meats, obviously, if you know Emily.
Open the door for us for a second. I don't want to use energy, but I do want to see perfect. Open the doors to the cooler.
Yep. I'll pull out one of these cowboy ribeyes from Tonali's that Allie put together for us here. So we're selling these in here.
You're stocked up.
We are stocked. Big Chris is our meat monger. He's been working around the clock to keep us stocked, but we've been selling all of our briskets in here.
Hello, Tony.
A ton of brisket out of here, pork ribs, a lot of more barbecue cuts that aren't necessarily at.
And you'll deliver that?
Grocery stores that folks come to us for barbecue, right? Brisket, pork butts, pork ribs. We're actually doing some pork ribs today out on our smoker. I might send you guys down a rack here when I get off. So.
Jesus, that sounds
I know.
Great. So this weekend, Saturday, March 28th, the hashtag, I love it, Stay In, Cook Out. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So we thought it was important to get behind a movement here. With a lot of other folks in the barbecue community. It's hashtag Stay In, Cook Out. We're asking folks to keep a social distance between themselves, enjoy a day of barbecue, staying at home, being outside, enjoying the outdoors, and cooking whatever it is they want. So the hashtag for that movement tomorrow is hashtag Stay In and Cook. We're also on our Facebook page doing a photo contest. We're going to give away some prizes, gift cards to our stores, and some other goodies. If you go ahead and tag us at Proud Souls Barbecue and Provisions with that hashtag, the best photos, we're going to be awarding some cool gifts to folks. So it's a fun thing. Obviously, we got to make the most of this. It's not ideal. But it's something we in the barbecue community and folks at home can get behind and just enjoy a day of fun with their family outside cooking.
I'll tell you what, Rebecca, there's none better. First of all, these guys are pit masters. They make delicious barbecue. They do educational classes. They're developing a new location across from Rocker Spirits in Littleton. The location on 25th and Federal is just, as you saw, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then out front, that's where we see some of the educational classes. But please, can you make us even more hungry and show us those ribs?
Yeah, please do. That steak already got me going because I've been craving one with the ribs.
So just a little, I guess, a little education piece. So the way we cook our ribs, we do more of a Kansas City style. So we start them out on our smoker. They go for...
What's up, Big Chris?
Big Chris is out here showing off.
Hey, Chris.
Don't even see it. What's going on?
Good to see you, Big Chris.
Let's see them guns.
So we're out here. The ribs are actually wrapped now, so it's considered something that we call a Texas crutch. So we smoke them for a couple hours, and then we go ahead and wrap them. But we've got our big stick burner working out here, our Outlaw smoker. So we're burning some cherry and pecan wood in here today. But they're foiled right now. So this is the crutch portion. So you can't see them, but here in about 45 minutes or so, we'll be taking them out of that wrap, glazing them a bit, and getting into them. And I'm going to have Hudson over here send down a rack to you guys to enjoy. How about that?
Oh, you're amazing.
That is amazing. Are you guys streaming any educational stuff right now?
So unfortunately, just with what's going on, we had to postpone our current class schedule until things become a little bit more clear. So we've postponed our classes, giving everyone credit, obviously, that has been enrolled to reapply at a later date. So at that point, we're not doing that. We have been talking about adapting and doing some educational videos, kind of like what we're doing here. And we're working on some few fun ideas for that. So stay tuned on that realm.
I love it. Maybe in the one or two of the upcoming Sundays, we could come out and bring the Modern Eater, and we'll do a Sunday barbecue out there if that's something that we can do educationally.
That would be awesome. But you can see here, gentlemen, just picking up a new grill to go home.
That's so awesome.
To stay in and cook hopefully tomorrow. Hashtag stay in and cook. Thanks for your business, sir. We appreciate it. You got the new PK. Great. Awesome. Cool. Enjoy. Tag us tomorrow. You can see folks are still coming in. Folks, it's not ideal, but folks have to eat. What better way to hone those barbecue skills than now putting yourself to the test? So,
I say, Tony, drink some local beer. Get your backyard. Get your new or get some good stuff for your smoker or your pellet, and just kind of just take it in. Take a deep breath. We're in that hurry up and wait type of thing. So why not wait with a beer in your hand, knowing that you're going to have some delicious food coming up?
I agree 100%. Get out there, support your local brewery. Get in there, pick up a crowler or a growler, have your growler filled, go home. Sit outside, relax. The motto we're taking around here is one day at a time, like you said, Greg. Just let's get through today and then focus on tomorrow and what brings. Start stringing a few days together. Soon enough, those days are going to turn into weeks, and together we'll all get through this and ride it out and hopefully get back to what a more sense of normalcy.
It's a comment on Facebook. Aaron says, getting ready to go get meat and spice for Proud Souls right now.
There we go. Come on in.
So expect Aaron Shepard to be coming in from the street.
Hey, Aaron. Okay. We'll be here for her. She's been in before, so she knows the drill.
I love you, Tony.
And Tony, I'll drop some stuff off for you next week. I'm just coordinating with Rich on getting it picked up, but we've got some great delivery boxes for you.
Great.
Thanks for all your support.
Thanks for thinking of us, and we appreciate all you guys are doing. I've been able to tune in a little bit. We're staying busy here, which I can't complain. So I try to tune in when I can. You guys are doing a great job of getting the message out. And Greg and Jay and Rebecca, thanks for your support and doing what you do. You've been doing great work.
We're all in this together, my friend.
Tony.
We're seeing it right now. This is when really family gets solidified and galvanized. And if there's one good thing that's coming out of a nice silver lining, it's just that.
Yes, sir. I agree, Greg. So thanks, folks. Watch for those ribs. They'll be hitting your guys' table there probably in an hour or so.
Oh, today?
We'll still be on.
We're so spoiled. Yeah. Thanks, Tony. And like I said, I'll check in with you to make sure you're there when I'm there next week.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thanks.
Cool. Well,
folks.
barbecue. And what else do you need besides barbecue on a Friday?
I think that's pretty much it. With spring kicking off, you've got some local beer, local cider, or local spirits.
How about some spirits? Yeah.
Trust me, I was already there.
I know you were. Meagan Miller coming up. And Meagan Miller, the president of the Distillers Guild. And I talk about the breweries. And again, as businesses are kind of down right now, they take the downtime to get cleaned up, to get your house in order, or your restaurant or your brewery or your bar. Beer will sit in your tap lines, and you may need to give a few adjustments by just not rotating them as much as you generally would. And the gentleman that comes to my mind is Jeff Rourke at A-Plus Beverage Solutions, family owned and operated. Again, another local business that these are the people that you want to support. Get your tap lines refreshed up. Pouring inefficient beer will do what to you guys?
I just totally melted down.
It'll pour your money down the drain.
I did you word it different? Because normally I mentally.
If I word it different, the answer's still the same.
I know, but I'm emailing Meagan Miller right now. Hold on, hold on.
Pouring inefficient beer. What are you doing, guys?
You're pouring your money down the drain. Hold on, Rebecca. You got to be in on this. This is how we do it. Go.
Okay.
One more time,
pouring
Greg.
Inefficient beer, guys. What are you doing?
You're pouring your money down the drain.
Don't pour your money down the drain. Call Jeff Rourke at A-Plus Beverage Solutions.
Clean out your lines.
Yes, clean out your lines, Rebecca. Get ready to go because there will be the other side of this, and you don't want to be flat-footed. You want to make sure that you're in stride, getting back there and pouring that delicious craft beer the way the brewer intended it to taste. He's a phone call away, 720-272-3809. One more time, 720-272-3809. Jeff Rourke and A-Plus Beverage Solutions.
Because people are going to flood in. It's going to happen. We're already getting a little stir crazy, right? Yep. So make sure you have fresh product, fresh lines, you're ready to go.
So as we stand by for Meagan Miller, she wears a couple of hats. We've met Meagan before, haven't we?
I think so, yes.
Meagan Miller, president of the Distillers Guild, but also she just works at Talnua, or
she's
I guess we can ask her right there.
Good timing, Melissa. Good timing. Meagan.
Meagan, I apologize. It's Friday and we are all losing our marbles at this point.
I'm fine. She's speaking fully for herself. How are you, Meagan?
Okay,
trying to be able to hear you a little bit, Meagan. Little glitch.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, fantastic. So Meagan Miller, president of the Distillers Guild, and I also said you work at Talnua, but I didn't know what capacity.
Talnua.
Jeez, you're right, Rebecca.
Thank you. I knew it was coming.
I am losing my mind.
Yeah.
Talk about yourself for just a second, Meagan, if you would.
Sure. I'm getting a little bit of reverb.
Turn everything you have down. If you have any volumes up, turn all your volumes down on your phone, computer, everything.
I am Meagan Miller. I am one of the co-founders and co-owners of Talnua Distillery. We are in Arvada, Colorado, 58th and Sheridan. So we make the only pot still whiskeys and gins outside of Ireland.
That's right. And you did something really creative on St. Patrick's Day, too. I enjoyed it. You're like, oh, what did we do on St. Patrick's Day?
When was St. Patrick's Day?
Right. It was last Tuesday, and we had our 1-year anniversary last weekend, 2 weekends ago at this point. And Saturday was great. Sunday was a little bit of a blow, but the people who were out there really, really enjoyed it. We had some great music, and at that point, it was all about solidarity.
Yeah, Colorado's Distillers Guild, and there's a lot of just new things are happening all the time, and what you can do, what you can't do, the state of distilleries. What are some of those things that are happening right now with distilleries, and kind of just give us an update?
There's a lot going on. Most of us are making hand sanitizer. A lot of us are not, though, as well, and there's some key pieces of information about that. When stories started coming out from other states and other countries, their distilleries making hand sanitizer, people obviously bombarded us as the guild with questions about whether or not we were going to be making hand sanitizer. And there was really zero clarity about a week ago even on what that meant and how we could do it legally with working with ETB, the FDA, the World Health Organization. It's been a challenge to meet all of those requirements. Some of them are even conflicting at times. And then we also have the point that not all of our distilleries can actually have the equipment to create sanitizer. So hand sanitizer has been like probably 5 or 6 hours of my day every day for the last week and a half. Just the thought of it and talking about it. But really, we're all just trying to keep our businesses alive. Trying to hold on to as many employees as we all can, supporting them in any way we can, that those who have been let go or furloughed or temporary let go, whatever. Most of us have our doors open for bottle sales right now. And you can call ahead. Some people have websites set up that you can order online and then pick up curbside at each of our distilleries. We're all hang on together and work together as best we can. I can't tell you how many guild emails we've sent out this week and a half too. And people have been really positively responsive on those. And the communication that we've had, I think I've really felt an appreciation from most of our members, all of our members. And we've got a great team where get our guild members information every day, every hour, that update agency or entity it may be.
What's the tone of some of the emails that you've been receiving questions wise?
Questions wise, I've gotten a lot of inquiries for getting hand sanitizer from different medical facilities, first responders, PD offices, and so on and so forth. And then also, just our regular community members. I want to first say, like, the importance of our community members right now and supporting all of our businesses. Like, we are absolutely relying on each of those community members. But we are, I will state, at least for my distillery and many others, asking the general public to allow us to donate that hand sanitizer that we are making first and foremost. And this is a good time to remind people that soap is a really good option for at home. You don't necessarily have to have hand sanitizer at your house. But right now, our first responders and medical facilities and nursing homes really, really need it. So that's kind of where we're focusing on.
Yeah, hand sanitizers. You've probably never thought in your life a month ago that hand sanitizer would consume you.
No. Somebody asked me the other day, well, how's it going? And I was like, when you have that dream to like open a really great distillery, and then you may end up making hand sanitizer, it's like that.
That's the way it's going right now. You talk about spirits and alcohol in general kind of being recession proof and sitting on a commodity. Are the distilleries, some would say, well, that's kind of our last concern. Is that true? Restaurants and bars and those types of businesses first and then breweries and then distilleries? Where's in kind of that order, or does that make sense to you?
So right now we are deemed essential because we are supporting our restaurant accounts and our off-premise accounts. And so I think it all goes hand in hand. Like if we're not there to be able to supply the goods that these restaurants are relying on to have their own revenue, then it's kind of it's like I said, hand in hand. I don't know that one begets the other. But we are all in this together right now. And some of our restaurant accounts and on off-premise accounts have just been truly incredible and in supporting all of us as small companies, as small distillers, as small breweries.
Was that me? Did I just have a stroke?
Do we have you still, Meagan?
It's all our best we can.
Oh, man.
I feel like it's the computers are having more issues than the phones.
I think everybody's on the internet.
I think that's, well, they have nothing else to do.
I think everyone's on the. Hey, there's a couple of questions I want to ask her.
Yeah,
about.
no, first of all, how do you even get that job. That's amazing.
Her job, I don't think anybody wants it.
Well, that's true.
Really? I mean, listen to what she's doing. She's earning her money right now. She's back with us, and this is cool. Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, fantastic. Meagan Miller, president of the Distillers Guild, joining us right now. And the next question that I wanted to ask you was about production. Has production slowed with most distilleries? Are they continuing to produce? And then after that, I'm going to go into the follow-up about the producers on down the line, how that daisy chain effect has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So for my distillery, for Talnua, we have stopped production. This week we're working on hand sanitizer, but honestly, with, little to no income, it's hard for us to be buying grains to produce the whiskey. So I think you're going to see a little bit of a slump here in a few years from, coronavirus, from many producers of all things, because we haven't been able to produce right now. But I will also say that there are definitely some distilleries that are still producing. I know Deer Hammer is still producing, so shout out to Lenny. And then I just heard today Stranahan's is still producing. So there are some. I think Golden Moon is also still producing. I think it's probably 50-50 from what I've heard right now on who's producing and who isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then to your point, down the line, if you go down, from where we buy our grains from, Whiskey Sister Supplies, obviously, and Root Shoot, like all of our BSG, all of our suppliers, I think are really feeling it, and also trying to do what they can to support us as well.
Yeah, Dan's tuned into the stream right now. I see in the
Dan.
Yeah, the Whiskey Sisters are actually going to be on with us next.
I know, I saw that. That's exciting.
Yeah, so as we kind of, everybody's in this holding pattern right now and just waiting for things to, if there is a normal, get back to normal. What are the things that we can do to support those people that support the distilleries?
Yeah, like I said, most of us are still open for bottle sales, so definitely look at your local distillery, your favorite distillery, whatever the case may be. Even if you've never been to one, like go to their website, see what their hours are, if they're doing bottle sales. Go, try out a new spirit at your house. And a lot of us are also doing online or Instagram, Facebook kind of cocktail make at home cocktail classes with our spirits. So pick up or go look at the social media on different distilleries. Find a cocktail that you think you like. Go pick up a bottle, make it at home. The other thing that people are doing and we are doing is encouraging the sales of gift cards. So, for when we can all be together again in our tasting rooms, buy those gift cards now because we need that income now, and that, kind of monetary support right now. And then let us support you whenever we're able to all be together again and embrace one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important, and I'm
You're
seeing a lot
today.
I am. I've got Deviation on. Thanks
all right,
to Cindy and her team.
Yeah,
I'm actually working with them at doing the at-home bartender experience. So I am not a bartender. I am great at pouring alcohol, but not craft cocktails. So I'm actually going to be helping them to do the at-home piece, so that I'm not, somebody who's in the trade, but can actually truly do it. So we're going to represent their brand. I think Cindy and I are going to try to get together this next week and film it. So
that's great.
My mornings are semi-available. My afternoons are with these guys, but trying to help out locally as best I can on that level.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I think maybe we'll see a whole lot of bartenders come out of this, if anything.
I know, right? Well, we're going to be very crafty by the end of it. People are learning how to cook, sew, make drinks, you name it.
Yeah.
We're in the
absolutely.
We're in the gestation period of trying to work with Levers Locavore to get some apparel for local businesses well. If that's something that you can help facilitate us to get into some of the local distilleries, basically what they're doing at Levers is they had a big area. I don't know if you're familiar with Levers Locavore, the grocery store. They're a new local grocery store. They had kind of a bar area. Levers is one of those places where you could walk around with a beer and shop and get good groceries. That area is now not an area. It's where they had seating. So we're going to put in some racks there with local apparel, T-shirts, and hats, and try and sell them at a centralized location where folks are still able to go. And then the proceeds 100% going back to the local business themselves. So if that's wonderful. If that's something that you'd like to work with us on, I think Rebecca would love to reach out to you for that.
Yeah, Meagan, I'll get your information from the guys, but you can also email me at rebecca.berry@forth.com. But I will be working on that this weekend, actually. I think we're about to wrap up we finally have our first full group. We're going to do probably about 5 to 6 vendors to see how it goes. But we're also looking for signed merchandise that we're going to put into another job code, essentially, or grouping code. We've got Troy Guards willing to do it, Jim Pittenger. We've got Elon. Who else? We had a bunch of people that were willing to go full throttle. So we really want to get that merch out so that we can sell it to the public. And then 100% of the proceeds and additional donations will go back to those organizations for their team, their rent, however they want to distribute it.
We're seeing a lot of cool collaborations right now. And I think that's one of the things that's keeping me going is the creativity and the togetherness that's happening there. Anything do you want to leave our audience before we jump into the Whiskey Sisters?
Sure. I mean, on that note, I actually talking about, collaboration and the solidarity thing and really just coming together as a community. I had a gentleman up in Eagle contact me. He heard about, the hand sanitizer stuff, and he's got a container full of shipping supplies and just called. He doesn't know any of us really personally. And he called me direct and said, "Hey, I have
terrible time for that to
it's going to be so good too."
Well, I have a feeling she'll hop back.
And so it's one of those collaboration things that
Hey, Meagan, if there's a chance, I have a feeling she'll pop off the show.
Yeah.
And that's the way she goes.
Meagan, go ahead and
share our tasting rooms. Hopefully, very shortly.
Oh, Meagan, can you hear me, Meagan?
Yes.
Okay. What I need you to do, because you just went into outer space, just reset back to the collaboration with the gentleman in the mountains.
Sure. Yeah. I guess I was just saying, being innovative with your collaborations. He reached out to us and has nothing to do with our industry and just wanted to see if he could help. So I think one of the fun things that we're seeing is those innovative collaborations and reaching out to other industries and seeing how, we really are all coming together as a community. So
I love the work that you do. Is there a way that folks can reach out to you if they have any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. My personal email is Meagan, MEA with an A, GAN at Talnua, TALNUA.com. Or we are on all of the social medias, Talnua.com, and you can go find us on Instagram, Facebook, all of the areas.
Yeah. And Meagan loves to talk about hand sanitizer. So just inundate her. No, I'm just kidding.
I think we're all going to be so sick of the smell of Lysol and aloe and rubbing alcohol by the time we're done that, I had my phone yesterday and I was like, I keep smelling Lysol. But it's necessary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Meagan.
Thanks, Meagan. I'll reach out to you.
Thank you guys so much.
You.
Cheers.
There she is. Okay, Meagan Miller, president of the Distillers Guild and partner at Talnua. I don't know why I messed that one up. I know that one. Thank you, Meagan. We're standing by for the Whiskey Sisters, and I want to take
the Whiskey Sisters are at 4.
Oh, are they?
So we're standing by for Kevin Galaba
Kevin.
and Michael Graham, who is the founder of God.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty big title. I know. Let me.
While you're doing that, I want to send this over to Rebecca because you guys are doing great work at Hot Schedules by Forth.
Thank you.
Spend a minute on talking about Hot Schedules.
Yeah, so Hot Schedules powered by Forth. We are the only industry-specific end-to-end solution. So we have your applicant tracking, onboarding, hiring, scheduling. The important piece that I do is with our PEO team, which is co-employment, which means we help you with your state unemployment tax rates, which almost all of you are going to be affected by because as you're laying your employees off, you're allowing them to claim unemployment. The state rate currently is at 1.7% for an average. Those can skyrocket because you are being great owner operators and people. So we're there to help to kind of contain that cost. On top of that, we work with insurance and things like that. So any questions, please drive them my way. You know, a lot of you are doing delivery right now. Please call your insurance companies. Make sure you are covered under that policy. You do not have to be with us for that. This is strictly just some advice, but we're here to keep you covered. And anything you have questions on, unemployment for your team or tax rates or HR during this, how do you communicate to your staff? How do you ensure that the public is safe, that they're safe? Rebecca.berry@forth.com. I am on every avenue except for the Twitters. I have a Twitter account. I just don't use it.
You can find her.
You can find me. LinkedIn, but my Facebook, please reach out with questions. This is critical because when you guys rev back up, if we can't have you contained, your tax rates are going to go through the roof.
And
so
she loves to talk about this.
I do actually. It's kind of weird.
Well, it's not weird, but just very helpful. And I have to tell you, and just a small note before Kevin Galaba joins us, Hot Schedules by Forth has been a great sponsor of the Modern Eater Show. We've had great conversations. You brought your boss in here one time.
Tef was on a 30-minute, we did a little podcast.
Here's what I have to say. These are very smart, intelligent people with a lot of resources. You don't need to be alone, especially in a time like this. Gather the resources together. Reach out. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Hot Schedules by Forth. Fantastic.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you bet.
And then here we are.
Here we are, and
Kevin,
there he is.
We need to see your handsome face.
I love it. Okay, let me introduce him officially. He's my friend and yours. Friends and Family is the group that he has. And Kevin Galaba is, I believe he's at First Baptist Church of Denver right now, doing just great works. Kevin, can you hear us, pal?
I can hear you perfectly. Thank you for having me on.
That's fantastic. So big week for you, Kevin. First of all, take 30 seconds and talk about yourself.
Sure. So I've been in Denver for 12 years. I've been in the food and beverage industry here for all of that time.
Where are you from, Kevin?
Originally from Connecticut.
All right, cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. So I'm a New England guy, but I moved to Minneapolis, did 10 years in the restaurant industry there, came here and have done 12 more. And love this industry very much and wanted to give something back. When I came to Colorado, I didn't know anybody and had to build this network that I have easier for and building community, that wasn't there when I was here originally. So the organization I started is called Friends and Family. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization based around education for industry, but also really about bringing people together. And that's what brought me here to the First Baptist Church today, where I'm organizing, again, bringing people together for a good cause. At the First Baptist Church, we are partnered with a few other amazing nonprofits, such as Denver Food Rescue, another organization called Bondadosa, Focus Points Family Resource Center, and then, of course, Friends and Family. And we're making meals here for seniors, low-income families, people who can't leave their homes. We're prepping them here. We're taking deliveries here in the kitchen in the basement of the church, prepping
Kevin,
meals.
1 second. Jay, go ahead. Do your work. I know you want to talk to Kevin right now about a little bit of housekeeping.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We only see
want to
Kevin's
see your
mouth.
face, Kevin. I love your mouth, but I want to see your face.
Hey,
Not kidding.
Wow, she loves your mouth.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's good.
Now we can see you. That's much better, pal. I just wanted to be able to have more of you than just your mouth, like you said. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
No worries. So we're taking food deliveries here into the basement of the kitchen. We have a lot of space here. And again, I'm bringing people together, like 12 people per shift, morning and afternoon shifts. And we're just prepping meals with whatever food we have on hand. We're buying some, we're getting some donated. That food then at about 3:30 gets loaded into vehicles. We've got drivers going all over town and dropping them off to seniors and low-income families, people who can't leave their home. And so Friends and Family is the people force behind this project in terms of manpower and staff.
Yeah, as people try and recognize the biggest term right now, last week it was kind of social distancing. This week is essential employees. And right. I can't think of any people more essential than this. You guys are doing fantastic.
You're doing incredible work. Kevin, you're just an amazing person. The give back to the community is so appreciated.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you guys do as well. And thanks for having me on and help me spread the word, because we are still open for people who want to volunteer or drop off food or donate to the program. The coordinator, Michael, is on his way. He'll be here in just a second, but he can tell you a lot more about the organization, which is called the Denver Metro Emergency Food Network.
And how did this week look for you, Kevin?
The week coming up?
No, this last week. Were there any hitches? Were there some things you needed to change? Pivot? Everybody's pivoting right now.
I think a big thing is getting the staff to practice, to make sure that large groups of people are still practicing the social distancing and the sanitation. That was a little bit of challenge, just a little bit of education and enforcing that, making sure that all of our standards are taken to the next level and are pristine, our surfaces are clean. We're practicing the social distancing and food safety, food sanitation, so all those things. But overall, the response has been great. The mood is really high.
It's important, and you're saying some important things because, if we all want to get back to that normal state, we know that the spread of this outbreak needs to be under control, and we all need to do our part. As you see, if you tuned into the stream, you can see Rebecca and I inch farther and farther away from each other. But it's all taking the time to do our parts, and especially dealing with other people's food. It just warms my heart to hear that you're doing all of the things internally that you would expect from such a great organization as Friends and Family.
Thank you. Everything's been taken to the next level. We've got Deviation Spirits has made some hand sanitizer for us and donated that to the cause, which is wonderful. I know you know those guys. But we're kind of limiting staff movement, for example, like no more than 10 people can be in a room, and we're really, really ramping up how we're handling the situation as far as people are concerned. So,
how are the spirits and I'm assuming they're volunteers?
They're from mostly the friends and family groups, so a lot of industry people. So we have a lot of restaurant and bar people that are out of work right now.
Call them out by name. Recognize some folks if you would, Kevin.
Sure. My good friends, Mikey Honek and his girlfriend, who goes by the name of Bolts. They actually just got hired on staff. That's how valuable they were. They got recognized right away as being real amazing people. My friend Jeff Crozier from Double D Diamond Liquor Store. My friend Josh Ford is running the kitchen. He's from Stoney's, and he's working here in the church. There's a coffee shop called Lost City, and he's part of that project. That's closed now, unfortunately. Sarah Carpenter previously from Dining Out Magazine. Too many people to really mention right now off the top of my head.
You don't want to leave anybody out, and I know there are a lot, but I think it's important that as I find you a leader in this community, but with all great leaders around, you're nothing without your support staff. So that was the reason why I wanted to mention that.
Appreciate that. The people are everything. It's about bringing people together and getting them to do good things.
Are there any folks, I know some folks need relief, and I don't know how spread thin or anything else, but folks that may be listening, is there a way that they can help or contribute, or are you all set?
Yep. We're definitely, we're a bunch of nonprofits. We're all 501c3 organizations, so any donation can be tax deductible.
I got one for you.
Cool.
Zach Johnson, the spice guy, just said, Kevin, let me know what spices you need. We got you, babe.
Right on. We have a full kitchen, hood system, kitchen team. We're ready. Anything that we take in, I give it to the kitchen, and they make magic happen with it. So if we get like 15 cases of bell peppers, that's going on the menu the next day. If we get 27 cases of mandarin oranges, those are going out the next day. So we're making do with what we have. So food donations have actually been, I can probably give a couple shout outs to people who have already donated stuff, even on a small scale, like a restaurant who's got stuff going bad. They're not open right now. So if they've got lettuce or limes or oranges, I'm kind of unofficially going around and grabbing all of that stuff from them, like Lou's Italian, Spirits Society downtown. So many people, too many people to name. But so funds, staff, and food donations are something that we're definitely accepting daily, and I can even arrange pickups. So if you want to give my phone number, people can text me. Happy to put myself out like that and connect with folks to get those things moving. But we need staff, money, and food.
Kevin, I've got your phone number as well. Can you share it so everybody knows? I'm going to do a post for you on food donations. So I know a lot of restaurants are trying to scale down these last 2 weeks, and there's stuff that probably has to get off the shelf.
Right. Please do. Feel free to do that. And I'm happy to make the connections and make good things happen.
Great. You're amazing.
What's the number? Your number.
720-838-3980. Text anytime.
Cool.
How about organizations? Seattle Fish has stepped up for you?
We'd take anything. Yeah, we'd definitely love to talk to them. We've had conversations with, Food Maven, We Don't Waste, another company called What Chefs Want. So some larger scale donations and smaller scale too. Nothing's too big, nothing's too small. We'll talk about anything.
How about methods of dissemination and who gets the food? And if somebody's out there that says, you know what, my stomach's growling right now, do I qualify? How do you work
we're
that in?
targeting mostly 15-mile radius of homebound senior citizens, low-income families, and other people in pretty strong need. So if someone does want to get themselves considered for something like that, feel free to text me as well. We can have a conversation about that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that probably never a time you say no, you know.
I think that's kind of the going thing. I think this is why we speak to people like yourself, Kevin. It's the community. Zach has completely stepped up in every aspect that he can. There's a million people I could name also. There's so many.
I wonder if Rich O'Brien's watching the stream right now. Rich, if you're watching the stream, ping us, man. I'm trying to make this connection with Rich O'Brien, who was on the program yesterday. He has a kitchen that he's working with right now, and he asked, hey, listen, it's empty at the moment, but sure would love to put it in good use. And I gave you his number yesterday, and I think you gave it to the appropriate people, but just connecting those dots is what we want to do for you, Kevin.
Right. We're doing a sort of a satellite project at Comal Heritage Food Incubator in Rhino, which is the female immigrant chef training program / amazing Mexican lunch restaurant. But we've got a whole soup making operation just there. So we've got dedicated volunteers, again, taking that sanitation to the next level. We have people that only work there so we don't cross-pollinate our staff. So we have a sort of an isolated operation there. We've got some other restaurants around town that are coming into the fold too. So I do have your information for Rich. I'm definitely we'll be connecting this organization with his kitchen to see what's possible, if anything.
Yeah, follow up with us on that.
His kitchen is beautiful. So he owns the property. It's right over by 10 Strawberry Street, kind of Monaco, and I can't remember that cross street, like 36 or something. Or I probably have it all wrong. But it's beautiful. It's big. They've got top of the line commercial equipment. Cool. You guys get a lot done there.
I love the Modern Eater kitchen. That's got a place in my heart. But, that's a beautiful place where great things happen.
It's not the fanciest, man. But
how much time do we have? Because the coordinator for this food network is here. If you want to introduce him and get him on the show.
Listen, we've set aside plenty of time for you. And if we didn't, we would make time. So let's do that.
He's in the room. I'm just going to have him sit down next to me.
Sweet. And this is Michael Graham.
Sitting down is Michael Graham from the Denver Metro Emergency Food Network.
How are you guys? Great to talk to you.
Hey, Michael. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Look at that. Even those dudes are even the physical distancing.
We're calling it physical, by the way. We're not social distancing because we still need to chat and be social. The doctor taught us that. We're physically distancing.
Hey, listen, I don't want to step on your toes, and I'm sure you got a lot of good stuff to say. Michael Graham joins us. Michael, please just do the setup. Talk about yourself and then go into the organization, if you would.
Sure. So I'm the owner of Lost City, and we started our first coffee shop and restaurant in Rhino at the taxi complex next to Comal last October. And about a month and a half ago, we opened our second spot here on Capitol Hill at 14th and Grant, which is the location we're operating out of now for the Emergency Food Network. So from the beginning, we've been really focused on how we give back to the community and creating impact in particular for immigrant and refugee communities here in the Denver area. So when this crisis happened and we realized we had the capacity and the partners to get something going, we brought everyone together and just went for it about a week ago. So I'm sure Kevin's giving you some particulars on that, but we're sending out about 1,200 meals a day now and looking to double that next week. So looking for, as he mentioned, donations food, online, volunteers, all of that. And we're just going to do this as long as we can, get as many meals out to people who are homebound and affected by the economic and health crisis as we possibly can.
Yeah, in a world to where it was turned upside down in a moment, and unemployment and furloughs skyrocketed, and people are just trying to figure out where they are. It's an interesting thing to where, a lot of us immigrants, refugees, now just people. We're all just people now. Yeah. And that's an interesting thing to see with humanity now, to where you thought you had it made, but look where you are right now. So organizations like this, who had the infrastructure for the underserved or underprivileged, being able to help out just the everyday person who's probably humbled by that experience, to where your services are very helpful for them. So amazing that you had that structure to be able to have that transcend into a time and day where it's needed for just the average person.
Definitely. We're building a network of folks so we can, grow this as new partners emerge, both on the nonprofit side, restaurants, catering companies, and corporate sponsors. It's going to take a lot of people to get everyone fed and taken care of over the next few weeks. And after the acute crisis is over, the next few months or year, as long as it takes to recover.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, can we make a little list of needs?
Sure. I said, funds, of course.
Yep.
Donations of food, big or small, and then volunteers. I love people who have that restaurant background, who kind of, take to this like a duck to water. But we're interested in training and putting to use any people who have the time to come to 14th and Grant, spend some time with us, and just make food. It's not difficult work, and it makes you feel good, and it's really needed right now.
Well, I want to make sure produce out of your own kitchen, if that's your own restaurant. If it's open, if it's not open, we can really build this network and bring it in from a lot of places and feed a lot of people. Yeah.
How about some industry leaders? I know if you worked out a taxi there, you work probably closely with the Zeppelins.
Yep. That Comal, the Heritage Food Incubator, is a project of one of our partners, which is Focus Points Family Resource Center. And they, day in and day out throughout the course of a year, they do a million great things for the community on their own. And now they're helping us with this project. So just a lot of good people coming together to do good things for people, which is what we're all about.
I want to make sure, and not to say that you don't, but good food, good wholesome food,
correct,
is important right now. And just, I want you to, our viewers, our listeners, assure them that this isn't just leftover food that's almost about to go to the trash can, and just some safety precautions that you guys are taking to make sure that that's viable food for public consumption.
100%. Yeah, we don't serve people, we don't deliver meals that we wouldn't eat ourselves. A lot of our sources are really, fresh farms, and like the Dahlia Mental Health Campus farms that they just don't have any restaurants to sell to. So they send it our way instead.
That's fantastic. Now, Lost City, do you mind if we talk about Lost City for a minute? Because if I'm to guess, you're like everybody else whose probably business is turned upside down. And which strikes me as like, man, Michael Graham, you are a saint. I'm sure you're putting a lot of your business ventures and structure and how you're dealing with that aside to be able to help out the community. Do you mind just a minute? I'd love for you to just give me your 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I think like everyone, like every other restaurant in Denver right now, except for, a few that are already really geared towards takeout or delivery, are in the same boat, are really suffering. They don't know if they're going to make it in a couple months. I think we decided we were going to go out with a bang, whether that's, took a week and we got 1,000 meals out, or, 3 months and we got 50,000 meals out. We'd rather just do what we can to get people fed. We know there are a lot of people much, much worse than us. If our business fails, so be it. It's going to be rough, but we'll be okay at the end of the day. A lot of people are not going to be okay. Restaurant workers, service industry, a lot of communities that are aligned with people that we were focused on before. Back to the immigrant and refugee communities, a lot of folks who are documented or not documented that work in the service industry are going to have absolutely no lifeline from the government or necessarily the state when it comes to, economic recovery or feeding their families.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting times that we're living in, guys, and my current concerns, I'm worried about you two guys and how you're holding up and, how much gas is left in the tank and what can we do for you guys?
You're already doing a lot, Greg. We really appreciate you keeping this beacon of information and connection going.
Don't even go there. This is the least we can do. Just like everybody else, people thank you guys like this is it, what else would we do? This is
right.
It's just so it's intuitive.
Well, to answer your question, I'm one of those people, one of those employees who's had basically the rug kind of taken out from underneath me. I'm in the events space, bartending, restaurants. So it's gone, and I'm kind of a little bit in denial, but I'm immersing myself into these beneficial projects to keep positive and to keep things moving, and just trying to bring people together, kind of take my mind off it. Hopefully that will find some sort of solution in the next few weeks, and we can get back to some sort of normalcy. But I'm just trying to, as far as coping, I'm just kind of loving the people around me and bringing them together and keeping busy.
Yeah.
I think the best way to cope, as Kevin just said, is, focus on taking care of other people around you, pay it forward, and, see what happens.
Aside from the feel goods that people like Catherine Cooney Green on the stream says, way to go, Kevin. And, people go to love it and like the comment. Beyond that, and I don't even know what the answer to this is, but do you guys have a Cash App or a Venmo that people could tip you, or I'd love
something.
I'd love to be able to put something out there that would directly help you gentlemen.
Yeah, you can go to denverdelivered.com, and there's a donation button in the top right on PayPal. That goes straight to the efforts. That helps us, pay for staff that are cooking the meals, that are prepping it, that are managing the volunteers, that are getting it out and delivering it home. So that's the best thing you can do right now to help out.
Denverdelivered.com?
Delivered.com.
Delivered with a D?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Guys, anything you need? Oh, what are we missing here? What else do we want to get out there?
Unless you're done. I have that second project going just for the newly unemployed restaurant and bar workers. And I'm finding out it's also people like the entertainment people, like, Summer Music Hall, and all the venues, all the sports stadiums, all those people in the food and beverage space are now out of jobs too. So we've partnered with Friends and Family has partnered with Zeppelin Station on Tuesdays and Thursdays to offer a free meal to those folks to sort of not only feed their stomach, but their spirit too. We're looking out. We were just on Fox 31 News earlier in the week, and then last night we were on Channel 7. So we're getting some really good buzz about that. All people have to do is text a number, and then they can just drive up. They don't have to get out of the car. We just hand them the meal, hand them some gifts from our sponsors, other things, and they just drive away and enjoy the meal. So that's Tuesdays and Thursdays for the foreseeable future at Zeppelin Station.
What's that number, Kevin?
You can text me. I don't have the number.
Okay.
It's a special Google number that we have set up. I don't have it on the top of my head.
Okay, I can get it from you, and I'll blast it out.
Sure. And that's for newly unemployed food and beverage industry workers. So
Great.
That's something else. And I don't know if Michael wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, so on denverdelivered.com, there's a way you can get in touch with us if you know someone who needs a meal. There's a waitlist form directly there, so we can get you directly tied into a meal delivered to your house or someone's house in need. Or you can go through one of our nonprofit partners, Denver Food Rescue, or Focus Points Family Resource Center. So there's a few different ways of getting tapped into meals to your home.
Great work.
Amazing, you guys.
Michael Graham,
Amazing.
it's a pleasure. I haven't met you before, I don't think. I feel like we're all family anyways, but pleasure to meet you virtually, I guess, and can't wait to see you in person here.
We'll all get drinks once this is over.
You know that will happen. Kevin, you still making some drinks, man?
Not really. I don't have any space to do it right now. That's all gone. So
don't lose that. Yeah, I know you can. It's like riding a bike, but you're so good at. You're so talented, man, and you have a passion for that, and you play nice with others. That's how I can put it.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Keep that going, and if you decide that maybe you do want to just mess around and no pun intended, let your hair down this week and get things going, we'll stream in there and we will watch you make cocktails and get that out there.
And
Greg, I'm game.
I just got an email from Rich O'Brien, so we'll make sure you guys get connected.
Thank you.
For sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Rich O'Brien, we want to get you hooked up with Michael Graham. There they are. Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Virtual
Rebecca.
hugs.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Ooh, what do you think, Rebecca?
I think those are two of the most giving people I've ever met. I mean, I feel like a lot of us are doing what we can, but I don't even know how they have the capacity.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times, and we talk about everything's virtual right now, and people trying to jockey for position to keep their voice. Event streaming solution, no S at the end. Have you recently faced with canceling a speaking engagement, an educational class? Virtual meetings are happening all over the place right now. But if you have kind of a higher production, if you're in a church and you want to get out to your congregation, you need microphones and video equipment, consider Event Streaming Solution and educational classes as well. Now's the perfect time to stream your content online. The experts at Event Streaming Solution are standing by to answer your questions and find the right solution for disseminating your message. They can help educational institutions, churches, virtual meetings, business seminars, or anyone who has a message that they want to broadcast to their membership or group. ESS strives to bring you customized content creation at a very competitive price. Just get a hold of them. The easiest way is by email, eventstreamingsolution@gmail.com, eventstreamingsolution@gmail.com, and they also have a Facebook page as well. You can see the graphic right there. No kidding. I know who this is. Hi, where's your sister?
Well, I got a manager out of a box, so I'm trying to right now. Jay, did you just send her the link?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hopefully she can manage herself out of that box.
Oh my!
What's up, guys?
Do me a favor. Can you turn your phone sideways so it opens up the full screen so we can really get a good look at you?
Whatever you want.
You told me you showered, so I want to show you off a little bit.
Crazy. I got to turn. There she is.
Hi.
Hey, Stephanie, do me a favor. Turn your phone sideways so it opens the full camera.
Don't you just love this new technology?
There we go.
You got more makeup on than I did today.
Looking good.
We're getting a 2-for-1 cribs today.
That's right. All right. Here's the official introduction. Felicia and Stephanie Ohnmacht join us, and the Whiskey Sisters from Whiskey Sisters Supply.
Hey, guys.
Supply is important.
Okay, most importantly, who has poured their afternoon dram?
My husband has. I have not.
Jay,
will you pour me a little nip?
Go get a bottle, Jay.
I don't think Rebecca drinks browns.
I don't, but you can.
Let me stop the production of the show to pour Greg alcohol. Thanks, ladies.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I told
Remember
you to get a bottle.
Well, what day is today, guys?
International Whiskey Day.
So you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
Kind of have to. All right, guys. I know weird times that we're living in right now. The only thing that's certain is uncertainty. Well, that and whiskey. And I hear that whiskey's the cure to everything. Is that true?
At high enough proof, it can.
It's kind of like Chris Rock's Tussin, right? Like, just pour some whiskey on it. It'll be fine.
Totally.
So, guys, you join us here, and basically we want to talk about, first of all, your business and the ripple effect from the supply. We just had on Meagan Miller from the Distillers Guild talk to us about kind of the state of the state with distilleries and what people are doing. If you went down to 291 and talked to Michael Myers and Philip Raleigh, you would think nothing was wrong. Those guys are down having some fun, but being creative and being safe at the same time. But truly, I don't know as though the distilling community wants to get incredibly serious, but it is serious when the supply chain gets broken. Who wants to talk about what the supply chain looks like right now, guys?
We're running like we have been. Ryan's getting ready to get in the field and plant corn, and we've made some runs up here last week, and we'll do a couple this week as well. And everything's just kind of running along.
The hard part is, right, our supply chain breaks when the distillery's cash flow stops. So if they have the cash to keep running, that's one thing. If they're running based on tasting room revenues and profits, we're not going to see as many orders here until they can get the tasting rooms up and running again, or they can figure out a way to sell more bottles to be able to, because they want to run. They need to produce so they can age this stuff, but they can't run without the cash to pay for it, and pay for the barrels, and pay for everything that kind of goes with creating another batch.
Yeah, talk about the farm. First of all, what is your farm and the production? Thanks you, Jay
Jay.
Parker.
Cheers, ladies.
Yeah.
Oh, yay! Cheers.
All right, that's it. I got to go get some tea. You guys are going to get an early liquor cabinet view.
Oh, good. We were going to ask you to
gonna...
see your kitchen anyway, so.
There's the liquor cabinet.
Straight up.
I don't know. We'll just go with Laws right now.
Oh, that's what I'm drinking. But I'm drinking a sherry cask finish one.
Oh, okay. I'm just going to do their 4 grain. All right, keep talking.
So I was right. You guys just drink whiskey all day, don't you?
I call up in the morning around 8:30. We have our morning whiskey.
Yep.
We chat business. And then,
sometimes mixed with tea. Alexa, stop.
So you guys aren't just one room apart right now?
No. I think I might murder her.
I have 2 sisters, so I get it.
Yeah.
So talk about the farm, guys, because I think it's an important thing to where, the farm doesn't just stop being a farm.
No, and it doesn't. And the good news, there's so much open space between one person to the next at the farm. The quarantine thing probably, isn't hitting as hard because everybody's out working. We're preparing for corn harvest, which is, soon, a couple of weeks here. April's corn harvest. Sorry, corn planting. There's some concern about maybe making sure we get the corn seed because wheat's already in the ground. That happens in the fall. Felicia, what's your take on it?
They're running like normal. Ranchers are running like normal. Everyone out there, there's social distancing. The restaurants are closed. They're doing carry out and takeout on the restaurants. But they've got to still put stuff in the ground in order to feed us up here, right? And to feed everybody in the world. So they're doing their thing.
Mm-hmm. As we've talked a little bit about, production has slowed a bit within the distilleries of who's producing, who's not. I think Meagan said probably 50-50 as far as that goes. So, the supply, the chain is there, but are you going to find a rush on it at some point when the production ramps back up, or is there enough supply in that chain to where it should always stay evened out?
We have plenty of supply in that chain when they're ready and when people are ready to get back up and running. That's not a problem. All right, my setup here sucks.
So you probably have your phone leaning on that lava bottle.
No, my sis Stephanie got me this little gadget, and it's just not working that well, honey.
Hey, I'm using it, and I think everybody thinks I look fantastic. So, F you. My gadget's perfect.
We need to do Friday happy hours with them. This is the perfect end to the day.
I'm happy and I'm terrified. I don't know what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
It's always an interesting time, shall I say. And, hey, Stephanie, between me and you, I think it was your birthday last time that I saw your sister, and I called your sister Stephanie, and she's like, "Bye, Felicia."
Bye.
She took the headset off, threw it on the table, stormed out of here, total by accident.
Now, were they here with Meridium one day?
Probably.
We haven't made it with Meridium yet. They are one of our clients, but we haven't got there with Meridium.
Because I swear I've met you. It was in studio about a couple months ago.
Well, that's when I accidentally.
Okay, so we have met.
Felicia comes down to the show and loves us, and Stephanie does not.
Yes.
That's how you.
Yeah.
That's how you tell them apart. Hey, listen.
We all know who the nice one is now.
Felicia, have you, this is Jay Parker, have you and I not had conversations where I say, where's Stephanie? I want her in the kitchen. I love her just as much as I love you. And then when it happens, when showtime happens, I'm just saying, Stephanie. Felicia,
well, you know, really what happens is she's just not telling me about it so she can be the favorite one.
I want all the glory. You got to remember, she was the middle child and like the good one.
Yeah.
So, I gotta get as much as I can now since we're out of the house.
Wait a minute. That you so you have a brother or another sibling?
We do have another sibling.
Is it another girl?
Yeah.
There's more sisters involved.
Yes. Yeah, my parents wanted Felicia to be a boy so badly.
They did.
So it's Felicia. Is it Felicia or Felicia?
No, don't listen to her. It's Felicia.
And you confuse Dustin Evans from Rocker because that's all he thinks. He'll go to the grave thinking it's Felicia. That's true. That's true story.
Because what the middle sister says is always right.
That's God.
Do you have a picture of your other sister that you can show us?
This thing sucks.
I have the Christmas picture, Felicia, on the fridge.
I see what you did there.
You know,
my side of my face.
Oh, where's she at? Keep going. Keep going. Nope, the other direction, Felicia. You got it backwards. That's a really great coupon.
Yeah, that's a
coupon.
Hold on. Let's see if I can get this figure out. This is ridiculous.
As much as I love you guys on the radio show, you guys are built for video. That's for sure.
Oh, geez.
Okay,
now I
Felicia,
can't even
you
see.
suck at this.
That's it. I give up.
Can we get her some more whiskey?
Yeah, right? What are we looking at? I guess we're taking a tour at this point.
I think
you're looking at my house now.
Okay, Felicia, we need to see your sink now since you're right there.
I can't
Have you
even
been
get
doing
the
your
camera
dishes?
flipped back around again. Damn it, here's the sink.
I guess we're just practicing.
Well, we're seeing your hand.
It's
a really great hand. We see your hand, Felicia. It doesn't spin, I don't think, like you would expect on FaceTime. You have to actually turn it around.
Yeah. So
there
Stephanie,
is. Stephanie, look at the bottom. There is a little square, little thingy that has a flip around. How embarrassing!
Not too shabby.
Nope.
Oh, Stephanie, how's your sink looking?
I think it's perfectly clean. Thank you very much. Because
Perfect.
I operate a house that doesn't get dirty. I mean, can't everybody operate like that?
Stephanie likes nothing dirty.
Oh, sorry. There's some soup bowls. Hold on.
Oh, it's
that's
worse.
great.
Soup bowls? 2 bowls and a spoon. And my gloves. So hold on. These are the most important things.
Did you decorate those? She used to decorate them, you guys, because she sews. So then she would sew like decorations on them.
All right.
Hey, you like them.
Since it's Friday, we're having a little bit of fun with you. And thank you, Whiskey Sisters, online with us. Whiskey Sisters Supply, Felicia and Stephanie with us. Okay, guys, let's play a fun little game. Since you guys know each other's house, Stephanie, what's one thing that we need to see in Felicia's house?
Oh, God.
Ooh, that would be her plant problem.
Her plant problem. All right,
I have plant problems.
Let's see it.
All right, we're going to go upstairs. You're going to get a tour. I don't think it's that bad.
No.
Talk about it worse than it is. The outdoors is probably worse.
She spends all of her extra money on plants, inside or outside.
Yeah,
I love
I have a she room right now too. So, and I have fancy booze right here.
Oh,
so my fancy this is my fancy stuff.
That's the stash right there.
It's like the fancy
I think that's where
stuff.
she hides it from her husband.
It's
Although
where
it's kind of in the open, numbnuts.
Because I was staging the liquor cabinet. Here's one of the plants.
Oh, it's one plant. I
Is
don't know.
more than one. I was thinking you'd show me by the.
There's one that's almost dying, and I was trying to save it. But there's quite a few. I bring home small ones mostly. That's what
I'm not seeing a problem yet.
Yeah,
you can see what my outdoors looks like when it's summer.
Okay, your turn, Felicia. Something we need to see in Stephanie's house.
Truman.
Oh, he's out on a walk, so he wouldn't bark.
Oh, Stephanie, you guys.
He'll
need
come back.
Truman, you
Truman will be
guys.
back. I'm sure by the time we wrap up, Truman is very important. His toys are everywhere, and he's the most handsome boy ever. He'll come running in pretty soon, I'm sure.
Okay, do another one. What else?
Her violin.
You guys are actually pretty boring.
Ooh, my violin. Where's Stephanie's liquor cabinet? I haven't. Yeah.
You want my violin or you want my liquor cabinet?
I don't know, both.
Yeah, play the violin while you show us the liquor cabinet.
Oh, because I'm not good, one-handed.
Do you actually play the violin?
She does.
Yeah.
You do? Well, that's a must. That is a must right
Shit,
there.
Felicia. You can't, Felicia. What?
Yeah, and be mindful of like you know.
I know it's tuned because you
And
just
it's
played
tuned. I was just playing it yesterday. Oh, this is gonna be hilarious. Hang on, let me get you set up.
Play Allegro, Stephanie. JJ would
Well,
love
I
it.
don't have my music out. Hold on.
Oh, this
She
is
used
great.
to play in an orchestra back in the day in Colby, Kansas.
Oh. Shoot, I don't have anything memorized. I used to teach kiddos.
You did?
Remember Lord MacArthur?
Oh,
Come to the house.
Now,
Auto tune a little bit. I played you a scale.
Woo, that was amazing stuff.
And then I can do some picking. So I have a question because I just re-meeting you, Felicia, and meeting you, Stephanie. How did you guys get started? Like what?
It's a good story.
What started your business?
It's a good story. A very serendipitous story.
Necessity.
It was necessity, and it wasn't. I wish Felicia and I were smart enough to say we could have sat around the dinner table and came up with this idea, which we didn't.
Alcohol wasn't allowed at the house.
No, not at the farm. Well, alcohol wasn't allowed if they knew about it. But Mom didn't know about a lot of the liquor we had hiding.
No, that was all you, dude. I was the good kid on
And then
that
I
one.
would blame it on my high school friends. I'm like, oh, that wasn't mine. Oh, never. I was a very good kid.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the story, damn it.
Okay, so anyway.
Wow.
No, actually, formerly I was in the clothing business, was at a fashion show, and Al Laws was there. So it was the very beginning of Laws Whiskey House. Al had a booth there, and he was giving away free samples of whiskey. And I beelined it to that booth for whatever reason, because, of course, well, I shouldn't say whatever reason, because I like brown. And I was like, oh, I got to try this. And struck up this conversation with a super nice guy, chitty-chatted, and he was telling me about how awesome his grains were. And I was like, so what farmers are you using? And blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, well, to be honest with you, I don't have a Colorado corn supplier. And this was Al. And
your
so
eyes
like,
lit up.
I can get you corn. Like, let's talk tomorrow. So we gosh, I think it was within a week, was at Law's Whiskey House, talking to him about what we could do. And then he did some sample runs, liked the product, was really happy with the product, actually. And so, over time, I sat down and actually tried to figure out what the financials could be on it, how we could help the farm with this, had to get approval from our mother, who was not so happy because Grandpa, who was going to be a priest, then met my grandmother, left the priesthood to marry my grandma, and there was no alcohol on the farm. And she's like, he'll roll over in his grave. And I was like, he might. I mean, this is all hypothetical.
But then she said Nanny would elbow him because Nanny, our grandmother, was very much of an entrepreneur. So she'd be like, oh, hon, just stop it. And so Mom wasn't okay with that.
I kind of remember the time that was going on, because one of the things that Al really liked about working with you guys is he would text you the quantities that he wanted, and you would actually respond and give him what he needed, and kind of that. But then he's had to start sharing, and what did that turn into, where it actually started catching on, guys?
It caught on pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Magically enough. I mean, it's like they say, this was a business meant to help save our farm. I think there have been multiple times in this time period, leading up to this time period where we started Whiskey Sisters, that, we were going to have to start selling off pieces of the land of the homestead to keep what was left, what is of the farm intact. Just because unable to make ends meet given corn prices, all grain prices, really. In the rise. This was, Al was kind coming out, and then other people were starting to follow, and everybody was asking Al where he's getting his grain.
Yeah, who was next after Al?
Rocker.
Was it Dustin?
Yep.
Yep. And then Bear Creek was pretty close after that.
I mean, listen to the lineup they have. Gets good.
And then, and then 291 was right after that. Like, I'd have to go through I do all the accounting, so I have all the first orders and everything listed out. But those were the 4 main ones. Am I missing somebody, Felicia? Somebody's going to get mad. I forgot.
I know. Someone's going to get so irritated with us.
Those are the first 4.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're distillers. They don't get mad that easy.
Yeah, they know you've got a big lineup. How do you pronounce your last names?
Ohnmacht.
Ohnmacht. Okay.
Well, Ohnmacht.
Ohnmacht.
O-M-A-K.
It's Ohnmacht.
It's Ohnmacht.
Come on, let's get. Yeah, you gotta get Brody.
See,
do you guys know what it means? Do you guys know in the translation what that means?
What?
To pass out.
Does it really?
Oh, well, this is perfect then for you guys. This actually this is serendipitous, actually, and destiny.
Yeah, we're going to check back in at 8 p.m. See who's still awake.
It might be.
No, they say you have a drinking problem if you pass out at night. So, yes, I don't pass out at night.
But they do have their whiskey tea.
Yes. We have whiskey tea in the morning. We got to do our check-in. And then, you got to have your lunch cocktail.
Now, listen, these guys are, first of all, they're family people here. They live a respectable life.
Amazing professionals.
I do.
But fun. You have to be fun in this industry. That's what keeps you going.
Dude. Right now, especially. Kevin's doing some awesome stuff, and I was like, okay, we've got to liven this up. We're all sad. People are having their coffee.
We need to do a happy hour with this.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think we need to do a Friday whiskey happy hour because it's Friday.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Even though I don't know what day it is or what I wore for the last 10 days. I know I have a lot of leggings in the wash.
Forget jeans right now.
I would love to do happy hour with these guys on Fridays.
They're some of the coolest guys. In the next segment, we're going to have a doctor on from Boulder Internal Medicine.
Oh, wow.
And this doctor, I heard him this morning on one of my colleagues, the Lewis and Logan show on KOA. And his name is Dr. William Blanchet. Are there any questions that you have for the doctor of do's and don'ts and how it's transmitted? Or can you go to the store? Or can you touch a bottle or what you can do? Is there anything that you want to know from the doctor?
Okay, so I have one thing. And so I live in Stapleton. So there's a lot of stereotypes for Stapleton, I know. But we live on a courtyard. And we will go out and stand like 6 to more feet apart from each other and have drinks and cocktails. People are starting to freak out. You can't do that. You need to be inside your house. You're going to make this all worse. I want to know if we can do that.
I think that's a great question. And you can, though. They did issue it. They don't want you in herds and close, like playing volleyball at the park. But people have got to get out or you're going to go crazy.
How many are in your group?
There are 11 houses in this courtyard. And we end up, not that many people come out. Like yesterday, there were 3 of us. My son didn't go out, but one set of kids were out. But it was just, they were the same family, so it's not a big deal. But we all stood apart from each other. And then we see on the Facebook that you shouldn't be doing this. This is going to make it worse. And granted, the person that posted it works in the ER, so she's seeing the worst of the worst and how bad it can get. But we're sitting here wondering now, can we go out and
talk to people
socialize with each other at a respectable distance? And do we all need to hide out in our house and love on Zoom and FaceTime and what you guys are using, Switcher Studio? Yeah.
So no kissing, right?
No, we're not. The moms are not making out.
None of that.
This is not Highlands Ranch. I'm sorry. That was a bad joke.
Are you cheersing people?
No.
You're not. Okay. So
you're like distancing, you'd be like, hey guys, and that's it. Like
you're keeping your space.
Oh, we're totally keeping our space because we don't want our families to get sick. We don't want to get sick.
Stephanie, you got a question for the doctor?
No. I mean, I guess no, not really. I'm pretty self-quarantined during the day because I work from home all the time, and so I don't have a question, but Felicia has a great question. I'm gonna go with hers. I vote for hers.
Yeah, that's a good question. How about, are gloves safer than just your hands?
Ooh, I think if you don't touch your face wearing a glove. It's going to be the same.
That's going to be interesting what the doctor says about that.
So at the grocery store, if I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, I'll put the long sleeve shirt over my hands, which is probably stupid because then my shirt's everywhere.
Yep.
I feel like there's no avoiding it. So my question was going to be, you grab produce or whatever. Like people are touching produce. Also, there's a whole thing about that it lives on cardboard boxes. So you're getting your to-go boxes, and it lives on there for 72 hours or something.
Live on surfaces?
Exactly. So
Depends on the surface, yeah.
we put our pizza boxes in the oven the other day when I got Pizzeria Locale just to kind of burn that off. But also, I've already touched the box.
Now, guys, the minute I get home, I strip down naked outside, and I.
That's amazing.
Oh, we need the address. Where you live?
This is true stuff, right? I'm not even exaggerating this. I'm
Can
taking.
you go out on your balcony and just strip down for everybody?
Not on that. No, it's in the hallway. It's a little strange before I go inside, but throw it all in a bag. But no, do you need to take all your clothes when you get exposed to the outside world, and can you wear them inside of your house? Have you thought of that?
I was, and then I went to the grocery store. I finally had left the house because my husband had been doing the grocery shopping, and I went to the grocery store and came back yesterday morning, and I ended up changing and throwing everything in the wash. I took a wet wipe step, so this is an idea. Take 2 or 3 wet wipes with you, and just the whole time you use them on your grocery cart.
So I have the weird problem. I'm allergic to fragrance.
Oh, that's
so
true.
I'm scared of all the
Oh
stuff.
yeah, the Lysols and the hand sanitizer, you name it. Because I was just saying earlier how I spray everything because I can't find any Lysol wipes, so I'm using my Lysol spray, and everything smells like Lysol right now.
Mm-hmm.
That was my gross face, by the way.
So here's a question for the doctor: are we over
sanitizing?
Are we getting rid of over sanitizing? So now are we lessening our immune system because we're over sanitizing? You can always say let your kids eat dirt because it'll increase their immune system. Like on the farm, I don't even know if we ever washed our hands once, right? So are we overdoing it, which is weakening our immune system, which means we could catch something more than we otherwise would?
That's a great question. Immune system.
Oh God, that was a jinx, Steph, right there.
I know.
Look at these guys.
You're going to be fine. Just drink that whiskey. If you're pickled inside, you'll be fine.
Do you think it's still safe to make love right now, you guys?
Of course.
Well, great.
As long as your spouse isn't sick.
What's that?
As long as your person's not sick.
Hey, did you hear that there are some people out there on dating apps right now trying to find other people not to hook up with, but to quarantine with for days and weeks on end?
That is so romantic.
Strangers.
So I followed a guy in China. My back in the day, Stephanie and I were both in the same sorority house, and my pledge daughter, her brother's in China, and he was actually on 9 News last night again. His name is Southwest_Hui on Instagram, and he was by himself for 56 days in China because his roommate had left. So he was like, if you guys can do this alone, if I did it alone, you can do it alone. You will be fine.
Jeez. How are you? What are you guys doing to pass the time? What, are you held up in your house, or you going? What are you doing?
I have a day job, so I'm still doing my day job. Which, by the way, my whole team sits in Philly, so I did a happy hour with them an hour ago over video to kind of keep the team all engaged. So yeah, I'm working 9 to 5, or actually 7 from 7 to 4:30. I work in my office, and then I hang out on. Been doing a ton of happy hours on Zoom or Facebook or whatever. Ton of happy hours remotely.
Interesting.
And I'm playing the violin and sewing and doing my other fun stuff.
Wow, you guys. Next time we see you, hopefully all of this has cleared out and you can get back into the kitchen where we like to have fun and show off all the culinary stuff and
Steph, we got to get you here.
Products and
I know. Give me more than 24 hours notice.
That's not Greg's style, though.
And not on my birthday weekend.
She's been around plenty.
I have an idea to Jay. Once this all loosens up, that maybe we can plan something.
Yeah, I'll cut her some slack because of the birthday weekend one. Even though that one I got Felicia a week ahead of time. I was trying to be mindful of not calling you four hours before I want you on.
Well, a girl only celebrates her 29th birthday more than once.
You don't look a day over 24.
Thank you. 29 was so hard.
You guys are great. Thank you for
Love
brightening
you guys.
our day.
Thank you. It's
Well,
really
thank you
a
for
pleasure.
keeping the show going.
Yeah.
And thank you for supporting local. We all need to continue supporting local. Either
do.
you drink it, eat it, whatever. Support it.
Yeah, love it. Live it. Felicia and Stephanie. Now I'm all through. I thought I had it.
So in
Ohnmacht,
science class,
right?
it was ohms, like the ohms,
Ohms?
like power.
Yep.
So it's Ohnmacht.
Ohnmacht.
And then
Oh
you do
God, Steph, you're gonna make me say it like that every single time.
Ohnmacht. Ohnmacht.
It will be so funny.
Oh,
Really
my
awesome,
God.
because I never even say it properly.
Ohnmacht.
Ohnmacht.
See?
That was
Got
Jay.
it.
You gotta do a little bit more throat.
See, I grew up in a Jewish family, so we had the l'chaim and the
Yeah, you do.
Hanukkah, the ha. So
You got it, girl. You got it.
All right, just whiskey sisters. That's it. That's all you get. Thank you, guys.
thanks, ladies.
Thanks, guys.
Love these guys.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
It looks like
Cheers.
Cheers Friday. Looks like we've got some breaking things going on, Jake. Can you tell me an update?
Yeah, so Juan Padro reached out to me and he said, hey, listen, he says, I got some information that's 100 now, info for people to know, and I'm happy to share it. Can I come down? So I said, stay 6 feet away from everybody, but yes, you can come down.
That's
so
fantastic.
he's on the way down. So I figure we'll button it up with him. I told him 4:45.
That's great.
Perfect.
That's fantastic.
We're going to do the doctor, then we're going to Brian Freeman at Growers Organics going to throw around some tomatoes and cucumbers for us, and then we'll close it out with Juan Padro.
Well, speaking of the doctor, he has joined us now. His name is Dr. William Blanchet, Boulder Internal Medicine. I heard this gentleman on the Lewis and Logan show this morning and did such a wonderful job. I've known Rick and Dave for quite some time, and the opportunity. If Rick says that you're his doctor, you've got to be the best doctor in the world.
Well, Rick is very flattering. I appreciate his positive comments there.
Yeah, absolutely. Doctor, thank you for joining us. In a world of uncertainty, the only thing that's certain right now is uncertainty. And folks, there's so much information going on out there, good information, bad information. People are just trying to sort through things, and a lot of questions. Actually, in the last segment, we were doing a little brainstorming with the Whiskey Sisters, talking to the Whiskey Sisters. But on the show today, you were taking questions that really struck me. So in the food and beverage world, we want to kind of go into that lane, if you don't mind, Doctor.
Sure.
Do you mind? First of all,
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. Take 30 seconds, a minute to talk about yourself, Doctor.
Basically, I'm an internist. I've been practicing in Boulder since 1983. That's a while. Have Boulder Internal Medicine, a group of physicians here. We take care of adult health care. And we also do something called front range preventive imaging, which does heart scans and virtual colonoscopies as just health screening tests, some really good tests that are a discussion for some other time. But that's what I do. I'm a dad. I have three, actually. I have 3 grown children. I should know how many. And one of them is a manager at a coffee shop in Olympia, Washington. And her significant other is a chef and works in the same city. So I have some familiarity with food services. And I eat at restaurants all the time, except for now, which in case I don't eat at restaurants anymore.
Unless you're
me.
Unless you're picking it up curbside, Doctor, or having it delivered to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's dig in if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Hey, give me
now the whiskey sisters you were talking to, were they using whiskey as an antiseptic or for some other purpose?
I think internally as an antiseptic, but not for hand sanitizer.
Okay.
Yeah, just to be clear.
It's interesting as we're seeing a rush right now. We were talking to Meagan Miller from the Distillers Guild, the president of the Distillers Guild, talking about the great work that distilleries are doing right now in order to produce some hand sanitizer.
Exactly. I've been recommending Everclear to my patients for the first time in 40 years. So
as a hand
sanitizer.
Yeah, it's a scarcity right now. Give me top 2, top 3 things, biggest misinformation out there right now as far as just safety and contracting the virus.
Well, the thing that I'm concerned about is this concept that we don't need to be doing COVID-19 tests on people with limited or minimal symptoms. The people with limited or minimal symptoms are the people who are going to go out into the community and infect others. Right now, we have so few tests that the only people who are getting tested, for the most part, are people with significant symptoms or people in the hospital. And we desperately, desperately need more tests so that we can test people who have just been exposed without symptoms, people who have minimal symptoms, probably have a cold. Let's make sure it's not COVID. Those are the people we need to be testing. And until we get adequate supplies to test those people, we're in trouble. We have a problem. So this concept that I keep hearing on TV, unless you're really sick, don't get tested, that's wrong. That's fundamentally wrong. But since we don't have enough tests, we have to kind of limit it that way.
Instead of misinformation, is that just misleading information so that folks aren't rushing in to flood the system?
Yeah, I think it's the reality is the tests aren't there. Therefore, we're going to only use the tests for people who come to the hospital, is the reality of the situation. But to say that you shouldn't get a test unless you're really sick, that's wrong. You can't get a test, but by God, you should get a test. And there's the lesion. And hopefully we'll fill in that gap. Hopefully we'll have adequate tests. Hopefully we can make a difference. But right now there's a lot of hand-wringing going on and not that much testing going on. And we need more testing.
Mm-hmm. So on a daily basis, doctor, I convince myself that I have symptoms of certain things, that, I have COVID. Let me ask you this question. Most of the population will have COVID at some point. True or false?
I think most is an overstatement. I think that probably if we don't get a handle on it, we can reasonably assume that a third of the population will get COVID before this is done. If we get a handle on it, maybe we can stop it. But if we don't get a handle on it, then the expectation is that as much as 1/3 of the population will get COVID-19 before this is over.
Hey, Dr. J. Parker here. You can't see me, but trust me, I'm here. When you say get a handle on it, where do you think we are with that statement on getting a handle on it? Do you think that the measures they've done so far are effective?
I think the measures they've done so far are extraordinary. To the extent that people abide by those measures and we really do perform appropriate social distancing and do appropriate hand washing and do appropriate cleansing of surfaces and things like that, we may, over the next week or two, see the fruit of those labors. But it's dependent upon people participating, people doing the right things, people stopping the spread. In Colorado, I think the window is still open, that we can stop the spread before it gets started. In New York and in Italy, that ship's left the dock. They're not going to stop before it started. They're going to have to just ride the storm. In Colorado, we may prevent the storm. That may be possible. In New Orleans, it wouldn't be possible. I used to live in New Orleans. It would not be possible in New Orleans. In Colorado, it's possible.
Interesting.
So I'm hoping that we'll find that our current measures work, that over the next week or so, the new cases start leveling off instead of increasing exponentially. And over the week after that, we might see new cases dropping. That's a dream situation. It's possible. I think we're doing the right things to achieve that as of now. But we're holding our breath a little bit too.
So, Doc, I do have a question. Do you think that due to the circumstances and the way different states are handling it, that we're going to look at border closures state to state? Do you see that coming at all?
That would surprise me. I think that we should even be thinking about city closures. If you have a hamlet that's got no virus, shut it down and stay in your hamlet. Don't let anybody in until this blows over. Mm-hmm. If you're in a city that's got a lot of virus, shut your borders down and don't let people out who are going to spread virus to other people. If we lived in Wuhan province, China, that would be an easy task, no problem. In Colorado, that's a challenge. That's hard to do. I don't know that we're going to accomplish that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But it would control the virus better if we could do local shutdowns. It could make a difference. It really could.
Yeah.
It's interesting because as we sort fact from fiction and a lot of the medical industry is bound by doing testing and creating a lot of data points in order to be able to come to a conclusion. And we're living in a world of where, we're seeing a doctor speculate on what would work and what would help.
Yes.
That's an interesting thing getting into a profession like yours, doctor, the speculation part of that.
Anyone who has the answers right now is blowing smoke. We don't have the answers. It's a new virus. We don't know completely how it's transmitted. We don't know completely its life cycle. We don't know completely so many of the questions that we would like to know. But we have some pretty good guesses based on the existing evidence. And we're going to get through this. We'll be fine at the end. The question is, how sick will we get before we get over to the other side?
Do you think we
How
are
many
over...
people will we lose before we get to the other side?
As we continue with talking about new, and they say the coronavirus, first of all, the difference between coronavirus and COVID, here's what I believe it to be. The coronavirus being the virus itself and COVID-19 being the actual developed disease within inside the body. Am I far off on that, doctor?
Well, coronavirus is a family of viruses, among which there are a couple of cold viruses, give you a common everyday cold, are in the coronavirus family. So there are a lot of coronaviruses out there. There are no coronaviruses other than COVID-19, which is a specific strain of coronavirus, which is deadly and as transmissible as this is. So coronavirus is the big name that takes care of a whole class of viruses.
SARS was in that family, correct? Was SARS in that family?
In a family, correct. Yeah. COVID-19 is a specific name of this specific version of coronavirus. And it's also called SARS-CoV-2. So it has two different names, which you can get confused with.
Yeah.
But these days, if you say coronavirus, we know you're talking about COVID-19. We don't have to be more specific. That's the coronavirus that's got our attention right now.
And when they talk about a strain or new, novel has been a term that has been pushed around. A novel strain, meaning new strain. Is that why?
Exactly.
Is that where a lot of the concern is at this point in time, to where we're seeing such drastic measures, being a new strain and a rush for a vaccination?
The typical coronavirus that can cause a common cold is no more than that. It causes the common cold. You get over it. We don't care about it. This new coronavirus, the thing that's different about it is that it makes you a lot sicker than the common cold. Much worse as far as the clinical presentation, and incredibly contagious, easily transmitted from person to person. So this novel coronavirus is different than all the previous existing coronaviruses that we've had forever. And we can screen for coronaviruses with a test that's been around for years, but it does not distinguish COVID-19. And I've known a couple of people who've had a viral screen that found coronavirus, but it was just the cold virus. It was not COVID-19. And it scared the person. They got the misinformation. It was not my patient, fortunately, but scared the person because they got through the patient portal, they have coronavirus. They panicked. They did not have COVID-19. They just had a cold. Yeah. So that's the difference.
A lot of online information is coming about, and you I'm sure you've heard some of the audio versions of folks talking about what this is doing and how to prevent it, and ER doctors that are saying certain things are exacerbating it right now, or even multiplying the effects by 10 times of ibuprofen. Can you clear up any of that for us, doctor?
Sure. There was an observed phenomenon that people who did poorly with coronavirus had a much higher incidence of taking ibuprofen than people who did well with coronavirus. And so the question is, did they do worse because they took ibuprofen, or did they take ibuprofen because they were doing worse? We don't know the answer to that question. But there is this association between increased consumption of ibuprofen and worse outcomes in this one observational review. And so the conclusion is we don't know, but my conclusion is until I do know, I don't need no ibuprofen. I can get by with Tylenol. And so my approach and what I tell my patients is, if you have a fever, take Tylenol. Don't take ibuprofen. Don't take Aleve. Don't an anti-inflammatory, because that's, although the data is not unequivocal, the suggestion is there, and we can get by with Tylenol. Let's do that.
Isn't that something else? The data point's not there for these types of things, so it's just proceed with caution with whatever you're doing, and we're on the go at this point in time. I think everybody's heart's in the right place, but the misinformation can be, life or death in some instances. And as we look at some of the other things that just people are hearing, and that's where I want to bring to you some of these things that are floating around on the internet right now, is some of the talk about the respiratory system itself, being able to breathe, talking that I've heard information from some folks that have had and have begun to recover, talking about it's almost as though this virus has its own cruel mind, this thick mucus that will consume your lungs in order for you not to be able to breathe. What are the effects of this virus that we're seeing that's so new and outstanding that we can put our finger on one thing, that this is something that's really happening? We hear things like drink a warm liquid every 20 minutes if you can. Try not to shock your system. Just, I'd love for you to just get into that and riff on that for a minute, if you would, Doc.
Sure. Well, when you get COVID-19, you've gotten ill with a virus. How do we treat a virus? Well, with some viruses, we have antivirals that work. And we can use the antivirals. We can use Tamiflu for influenza. We can use different drugs for herpes viruses, different drugs for AIDS viruses. The coronavirus, we don't have a definitive drug that works for it. There are some suggestions that maybe chloroquine or Plaquenil can work for it, but those are, once again, observations, and they go both ways. It may work, it may not work. It's interesting. They're doing work on it. If I had terrible coronavirus today, I would want to use chloroquine. If I had a patient with terrible coronavirus today, I would want to use chloroquine. But the data is not strong. The data is fairly weak supporting chloroquine, but it's the only straw we have, so we grasp at it. You treat the virus. The old chicken soup and hot tea actually is legitimate. It helps loosen the mucus. You cough the mucus up. Using an expectorant like Mucinex probably is a good idea because it loosens the sputum and you can cough the sputum up. And to a certain extent, this thick sputum sticking in our bronchial tree puts us at risk for pneumonia. And pneumonia is oftentimes the final illness that takes us out with a bad viral infection, and certainly is the case with coronavirus. And so for the people with mild to moderate cases who don't need to go to the hospital, taking Tylenol for the fever, staying well hydrated so the mucus is looser, and drinking warm beverages is reasonable. It's just kind of the old stuff that your grandmother would have told you. I'd stay away from mustard poultices, but other than that, the same stuff your grandmother would have told you can work for this.
Well, I hear that. I hear my mom ringing in my head saying, get in the shower and break that crap up out of your, you spit it out, get it out of your body.
And to the extent that you can do that, that's a really good thing. And a hot shower is probably a good thing in many circumstances. Not too hot if you have a fever. You don't want to crank that fever up any higher. But that's not a bad idea. Your mom was onto something.
Well, she's usually right, Greg.
Did you have something for the doctor?
I did. I do have a question. Immunosuppressants like drugs like Dupixent, what's the effect with that? So Dupixent is used for asthma, which is a huge piece of what goes on with this disease. Have you heard any feedback on that?
Not specifically. And here's the issue. Asthma itself is a risk factor for doing worse with this virus. So if you're using Dupixent, even if it may have an effect on your immune system, if it makes your asthma better, where's the balance? Which is worse, a risk from taking a medication to improve your asthma or the risk from having worse asthma? And that's a balancing act. And so if I have a patient who I'm thinking this disease might be better if I put them on something that will suppress their immune system, but they don't really need it, I'm not going to do it because the coronavirus is out there and I want their immune system working.
Well, but
if however,
if
the disease is such,
if
the disease is such that without treatment, you're going to have some real problems, then we do it. We put them on the anti-inflammatories, the immune suppressing drugs, and figure that making the underlying disease better will improve their odds with coronavirus. So it's a choice case by case. There's not a straight answer for that. Case by case, as choices to make.
This is amazing.
Tough choices, particularly since we don't have good data with this virus. We're flying by the seat of our pants by so much of what we're doing here.
Yeah, Dr. William Blanchet, Boulder Internal Medicine. So thrilled that you took a couple moments out for it. Just a few more. Are you good on time, Doctor?
I'm good on time. Actually, my patients were very kind, and I moved them around and opened it up. So
that's
we're good.
fantastic. Awesome. And as we were just dovetailing off the immune system type of thing, the discriminatory rap that this virus has gotten to, where there's an age demo of certain folks being the elderly with or more compromised immune system. Some of the most current data is shattering those types of remarks. Is there something that you can say about that?
Sure. When you look at who gets sicker, do people over 80 have a higher risk of getting sicker than people in their 50s? Sure, absolutely. But we also know that about 40% of the hospitalizations are in people who are young, between 35 and 55. And so if 40% of the people in the hospital are in that age range, you can't say, high five, I'm 40 years old, I'm not going to worry. And so, we've seen a 50-year-old die from COVID-19 here in Colorado. So I think the point is, yes, from an epidemiologic perspective, older people are going to do worse, and older people need to get cover more. But that's not to say that younger people don't need to duck and cover. Younger people have a risk of getting very, very sick with this and dying from this virus. So we're not out of jail free just because we're not 80. If we are 80, we're in more trouble. And we've got to be really careful not to bring this disease back and give it to grandpa, because you might have a cold yourself and grandpa might be on a ventilator in 5 days. And that's not what we want.
Social distancing, or what we'd like to have the term go into as far as physical distancing instead. What is it unique?
Good point. Yes.
What is it unique about this virus that actually called for the physical distancing, and is it working?
Yeah. We are assuming that because this virus is transmitted very well when it's combined with a water particle, but is not transmitted so well when it dries up, that if I can be at least 6 feet away from you and you cough, by the time those little particles of aerosolized viral mucus schmutz that you cough into the air reaches me, it will have dried up and it will be much less contagious. That's the thought process. It's not perfect. That's the thought process. Is it working? Ask me in a week and I'll tell you if it's working. I think so that this physical distancing, as you put it, which is a wonderful term, much better than social distancing. This physical distancing, 6 feet is the minimum. If you can do 10 feet and get the same job done, do 10 feet. If you do 15 feet and get the same job done, do 15 feet. So we're working on limited data, and we're making the best recommendations we can based on limited data. And yes, 6 feet's reasonable, much better than 3 feet. Probably not as good as 10 feet. Seat of our pants.
Address the folks that say the common flu is much more dangerous than this.
Basically, from a common flu's perspective, the two things to look at is, number one, what's the infectivity? If I have flu, how many people will I give flu to? And the answer is about 2. For every one person with flu, they give 2 people flu. With coronavirus, for every one person with coronavirus, they probably, and the data is unclear on this, and it's an effort in motion. With coronavirus, at least 2.5 to 4 people get coronavirus from everybody with coronavirus. So it's a little bit more contagious than the flu. And this business, a little bit more contagious, is huge. When you're looking at multipliers, the difference between getting a return of interest of 5% versus 10% is huge in your bank account. A little bit more contagious is huge with a virus. The second thing is, our best estimates is that it's at least 10 times more fatal than the flu. And so a virus that's more contagious and more fatal, kind of a bad combination. And so that's why we're looking at, if this goes unchecked, we may have 1 million Americans die from this virus. If we have a horrible flu year, we'll have 60,000 Americans die from the flu. That's the difference. This is all mathematical modeling. This is not historical perspective, but that's the difference. And it's an important difference.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we have things that can modify the flu. We have flu shots. We have Tamiflu. We have other drugs that treat flu. We don't have anything to modify the coronavirus, at this point in time. Hopefully we will. We don't at this point in time.
Interesting. Is every surface equal?
No, but where do you want to take a chance with? With studies that we've done looking for vitality of the virus, we say 3 days later the virus is dead on most surfaces. Then we had some studies showing, well, that's not always true. If you have a room that's cool, it's not very bright, maybe 7 days later, there's still virus on some surfaces. And then with the cruise ship that had the virus, they found virus still vital over 21 days after the last person left the cruise ship. And so, yes, it makes a difference, but you don't want to take a chance. I think what we do is we assume all surfaces that have not been wiped down to be contaminated. So if you have not wiped down the surface recently, if it's in a public area, assume it's contaminated.
So, Doc, I have a question on cardboard boxes. We're seeing so much to go and carry out and delivery. What's your suggestion?
My suggestion is when you get a cardboard box delivered, first off, wipe it down. Get some, Clorox wipes or alcohol wipes and wipe down the cardboard box, because it's assumed that it's going to be contaminated. So don't assume the outside of your cardboard box is not contaminated. So I seem to have lost connection with you here. Is that a thing? So I'm going to leave the room and come back and see what happens.
asked Senator Gardner and Brian Wanamaker, who is his chief legal counsel, who also previously was the chief legal counsel for Ruby Tuesday, understands restaurants pretty well, to hop on a call with some of the leaders in the restaurant industry. So we did that this morning at 11 o'clock. So we had about 20 of us on the call, and he kind of went over the bill and did a Q&A with everybody, which was pretty amazing. We asked for 30 minutes. I think he gave us an hour, which is super unusual. And so, we've got a pretty good understanding of what this thing looks like. And like I said, from working with him throughout the process, I've had a pretty decent insight into what it is. So I can give you an overview of what it means for small business, if that's helpful for you.
I would absolutely love that. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Juan Padro in studio with Dr. Blanchet, who actually sorry we lost you, doctor. And I'm kind of juggling chainsaws right now back and forth. And we lost you in the interview, and I wanted to wrap that up. Juan, give me 2 minutes with the doctor, and we'll get back with that. I just really into the conversation that we were having, doctor, and joined by Dr. William Blanchet again with Boulder Internal Medicine, taking time out for us right now. I wanted to take your temperature right now, and Juan Padro actually joins us. The doctor, you don't know the doctor. Here's Juan, the doctor. You pop your head over here, Juan, so he can see.
Hey, Juan. How you doing, Doc?
Juan Padro. A lot of the doctor's families in service industry too. Okay. So the restaurant, this has affected his family as much as everybody else as well. But just talking about the spike is what the question you brought up. I asked while we were fumbling to get you back, doctor. I asked Juan Padro, what would you ask a medical doctor right now? And Juan, go ahead.
My question would be, based on all the data that you guys have from other areas of the country and around the world, is there any way to predict when the actual spike, which seems to be occurring everywhere, when that is actually going to hit Colorado? I guess that's primarily the biggest question I would have as a business owner, because that would probably give us a pretty good indication as to what we're looking at.
Sure. My dream scenario is that over the next week, the cases stop going up. Over the following week, the cases start going down. And by the end of the third week, we can say we're past the worst of the storm. That's my dream scenario. And if the current distancing that we're doing and the current measures that we're doing and the current shutdown that we're doing works, that may happen. If that doesn't happen, we may see a doubling or tripling of this virus every 2 to 4 days until a third of us have had it. And that might be through August. We don't know. We don't know. We're working on assumptions. We're working on transposed data. We're working on speculation. And so I'm holding out a hope for in 3 weeks we'll be out of the storm, but it may be 3 months we're still in the storm. We still don't know.
Interesting.
And
terrifying.
As a physician and as a small business owner, these are troubling times. From a physician, there are existential concerns about physicians having higher incidences of acquiring COVID-19, and physicians and nurses and ward clerks dying from COVID-19 is a real risk. As a small business owner, how long can you hold your breath without revenues before you get into trouble? And hopefully what happened in Washington, D.C. will make a difference for us. We'll see. Not sure.
Yeah, a lot of that going on right now. Not sure.
Yeah.
Interesting thing, as if you turn on the nightly news, you just get the hell scared out of you. You're watching places all over the world, and you take a glimpse into Italy to where they're doing a Sophie's choice of who lives, who dies, who gets a ventilator, who not. Is that a glimpse of something that we would see here locally, or is that just something that's so far out of the question because, we're the best and baddest first world country?
Well, I think we've identified ourselves as not. Otherwise, I'd be able to get protective garments for my staff and for myself. And that's impossible. We can't get it. The thought of getting a commercially available sterile gown is a dream. The thought of getting enough N95 masks is a dream. The good news is with this particular virus, any surgical mask is probably just as good. But the thought that people in emergency rooms are working and seeing these people without adequate protective equipment is an outrage, and it's sad and it's tragic. And so we can't say that we're number one, we got this covered. We can say that in Colorado, we have had a bit more lead time than, say, New York or particularly Seattle. And so we've been able to realize we're going to need more resources. And so, for instance, Boulder, we have 12 ICU beds in Boulder with 12 ventilators for these 12 ICU beds. Our hospital administrator has reconfigured the hospital. We can get 45 hospital beds. And he's looked at outpatient surgical centers and have recruited availabilities of respirators, of ventilators from outpatient surgical centers that we can staff, 45 ICU beds with ventilators. I think that in Denver, similar dynamics exist. So because we have some thought, some lead time, resources, and smart people, and because Colorado has shut down commerce, and our governor has said, stop it, stay home, protect, I'm hoping that we don't get the huge spike that we're having, the Sophie's Choice they're having in Italy. Also, people are more spread out here. That gives us an advantage. In Italy, people are kind of cramped together a little bit. And so I think we're not going to get to Italy. I'm optimistic that we're not going to get to Italy. I can't guarantee that we're not going to get to Italy.
I hate to go there, but I guarantee you there are people asking this question, so I have to do it. What goes through a doctor's head when that choice is being made?
Having never been in a position to make that choice, to say, I'm sorry, you're not going to get a ventilator because you're 82 years old, and this 72-year-old in this other bed needs it as well as you do. So instead of a ventilator, you're going to get morphine. I've never been in that position. It's a tough position to be in. The thing that almost brings tears to my eyes is I have patients who are in their 90s. And I have this delightful patient who's 96 years old who sent me a card and said, Bill, if I end up in the hospital and I need a ventilator, give it to somebody else. Give it to somebody else. And so the patients are telling me, if I'm in that position and I have to make that choice, give the ventilator to somebody else. I've had 96 good years, give somebody else a shot. It's going to be tough. I'm hoping we don't get there. It's going to be tough. I've had the opportunity to work with patients who are at the end of their lives who said, I don't want a ventilator. I want to be kept comfortable. I'm completely okay with that. That's easy. That's medicine. But to have a patient who says, I'm uncomfortable, I can't breathe, help me. And for me to say, all I got for you is morphine, I can't give you a ventilator, that's not a position that I would ever want to find myself in. It's not a position that I could ever find comfort in. And I think I'd probably sit there with an ambu bag until both of us died.
Interesting. Your practice, healthcare in general, brave men and women that are waking up every day to try and take care of other folks. Are you safe? Are they safe? What keeps you going to work?
Yeah, we are not completely safe. Although I've not had access to enough masks, I've not had access to protective garments, I've not had access to the things we would normally expect to have access to in this circumstance, the stuff that China had access to. And when China started protecting their healthcare providers, the incidence of COVID-19 in the healthcare providers went down to the same as the rest of the country. Before China started protecting their healthcare providers, the incidence of COVID-19 among healthcare workers was 3 times what it was in the general population, and the general population was an epidemic. And so we don't have those. We need those. What's happened in my circumstance, I've had people who have stepped up and made those for me. What I'm wearing here is a surgical mask that was made on a sewing machine. It works just as well as any surgical mask that you could get, but it was available when other surgical masks weren't. Someone made me a surgical gown that I can wash and dry in a hot dryer. And if I'm on call this weekend, if I'm called into the hospital, I'm putting on this gown, so I have another layer of protection. I have another friend who's an artist who gave me 2 N100 masks that you could use to prevent fumes and gas and the finest particles from getting to you. So unlike most people who have trouble getting N95 masks, I have 2 N100 masks because a brother of mine who lives in Austin mailed them to me. So I have better than average protection. I wear a bandana to cover my head when I'm in the hospital. I have goggles that I usually use on my workbench that I will wear if I have a patient with COVID-19. Most doctors, most nurses aren't doing that because the hospital's relying on the availability of commercial stuff that's not there. So I feel that I'm a step better, but I'm not immune. I could still get this, and I'm 65. I could die if I got this virus. That would not be a stretch. I got a little bit of asthma. I could be in trouble. But we got to do it. If people have to be there, we're going to be there. And I'm hoping the steps we're taking here will work. I'm hoping that I don't have to be on the front lines like the people in New York are, like the people in Seattle are, like the people in Italy are, like the people in China were. But if I'm at the front lines, we're the front lines. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. Just to wrap up a couple of questions. Again, there is information that says just use common sense. Wash your hands. Don't rub your eyes. This is going to go in through your nose, your eyes, your mouth. You wash your hands. You folks can take those measures, and you'll be just fine. Will people be just fine with that standard protocol?
I don't think they will. Once again, I get back to the Wuhan province in China, where the physicians had 3 times the risk of contagion or risk of getting the virus until they started taking extraordinary measures, and then their risk went down. I think that washing hands is critically important. I think that not wiping your face, wiping your eyes, and then going to do something without washing your hands again is a mistake. To go the whole day without wiping your face or touching your nose or that sort of thing is impossible. Mm-hmm. But to wipe your eyes and then go wash your hands, that's okay. Just to wipe your eyes and then go check the bananas, that's a problem. And so people talk about wearing gloves. My feeling is the advantage of wearing gloves is if you're wearing gloves, you're less likely to pick your nose or rub your eyes. It doesn't provide any intrinsic value, except it might decrease the likelihood of you picking your nose or rubbing your eyes. But if you wear gloves, you have to sanitize the gloves as much, if not more, than you would sanitize your hands, because gloves can certainly transmit the disease.
That's a great tip, doctor, because I think people are probably just putting on their gloves and they think I have my gloves on, I'm fine, but they're touching all these surfaces. They're touching their face. They're touching all these things, taking their gloves off at home, then probably putting them back on when they go to the store the next day. So that's great information just for the basic stuff.
Yeah, equally as filthy.
Uh-huh.
Doctor, in close, and hopefully we can, with time permitting, and thank you for your time today, be able to get updates as we go along and kind of just follow the progress. In your crystal ball, what can we anticipate next week to look like here in Colorado?
I think that no one who doesn't have a job they need to go to probably will not be going to their job next week. I'm hoping that we start seeing the increase level off. But what's going to happen is as we get more kits to do more tests, we're going to find more cases. And so it's going to look like the cases are shooting up in the air. The reality is we're finding a higher percentage once we get the test kits that can allow us to do that. And so we're going to see an acceleration in the number of diagnoses, but hopefully we will see a stabilization in the number of hospitalizations. So that's what I'm looking for, is a stabilization in hospitalizations. And we may see that as early as next week, probably not until the next week. And I think we all still need to treat ourselves as though we have been in contact with somebody. Assume you've been exposed. Treat yourself as though you could make somebody else sick. And assume that everybody around you has been exposed. Let's overprotect for a while and shut this booger down. We can do that. In China, they could do that easily because they could point a gun at you and say, do it. In this country, we have to be smart enough to do it ourselves. And we collectively have to be smart enough and individually smart enough. And having a show like this where people listen is a good thing. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Dr. William Blanchet, Boulder Internal Medicine. When this smoke all clears, I'm in the market for new doc, internist, and I've heard such great things. Does Rick Lewis really sleep in a hyperbaric chamber?
Well, it's actually a HIPAA violation for me to tell you that Rick Lewis
he says it out there.
But I have no reason to discredit Rick on that point. He loves it. Yes. He doesn't spend the whole night. He spends an hour in it. But yes, he hyperbarics.
He hyperbarics. I like stuff like that. I need good rest, doctor. That's another thing. Just tell us real quick to how we can make sure. I know stress. We want big bolstered immune systems. Anything out there? Is there a run on emergency? You were even talking about elderberry, weren't you? Talking about that?
Oh yeah, I love my elderberry.
Elderberry.
So number one thing is to make sure you're getting some vitamin D on board. It's the end of the winter. Our vitamin D level is historic low. We're more susceptible to viruses when we have low vitamin Ds. Bolster with vitamin D. Make sure you have a good vitamin D. If you have a doctor who's checked the vitamin D level on you, good job. If you've not, just start taking at least 5,000 units a day. If you've not taken any, take 10,000 for a week or two, then go down to 5,000. And then when this is all over, ask your doctor for a level. See where you're at. Higher vitamin D levels equals fewer viral infections. Number one. Number two, get some sleep. At probably 6:30, stop watching the news. You start watching Netflix. Get this out of your head so you're not fighting the coronavirus all night. Try to get some sleep. If you wake up at 2 in the morning, don't get up. Stay in bed with your eyes closed. Because if you lie in bed with your eyes closed and relax, you'll get something. And most of the time what you'll get is you'll fall back asleep again. So do your best to stay in bed and give yourself at least 6 hours of rest in bed every night.
Does booze compromise your system?
To who do?
Does booze?
Booze in excess absolutely does. I can't say that a glass of wine is going to compromise your immune system. A bottle of wine, absolutely. So moderation on the booze is a wonderful idea. Good food, quality food. It's hard to clean fresh vegetables enough to feel real comfortable about it. But you can sear some kale. You can cook some carrots. You can make some stews that have fabulous quality foods in them. So eat quality food. Get a little bit of exercise. Go out and go for a walk. Stay away from everybody else who's out for a walk, but go out and go for a walk. And this will pass. This will pass.
Hey, Doc.
Keep yourself healthy. Keep uninfected. This will pass.
Hey, Doc. How many N95 masks do you guys need up there?
Well, we have about 10 in stock right now.
Okay.
So we're
I'll get you some.
Really?
We'll connect. Okay. So it has to come from our place in Florida. So it might be next week. It's probably going to be next week. But
that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, we have 200. Wow. We have 200,000 coming in.
Holy crap!
Wow.
Yeah, and we just got a million up to New York City as well. So I'll get some for you.
Thank you. Yes,
Doctor. It's if you knew who was in studio with us, but Juan Padro. He won't talk about himself, but Google his name. Talk about relief efforts and helping people out. This gentleman has done great work, and especially in Puerto Rico, where
oh man,
just check him out. I want to connect you too. Yeah. That's very generous.
Love that. Thank you.
Well, I literally just texted Allison, who I talked to you about, and she texted me right back, and she said, "I have 200,000 masks landing. You'll get a bunch at that point in time, and I'm going to try to track down 200 and get them out to you next week. Before that, N95 masks. Yeah. So
awesome." Juan, that's amazing.
You have full permission to share all my contact information.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thanks, Doctor.
Right. Dr. Blanchet. Wow. Right? I mean, food and beverage show, we don't generally go there. I wanted to take the opportunity, kind of a deep breath type of thing.
It's all right, man. Take your time. You should always be near breath.
Right?
I mean, I was almost in tears, seriously, just hearing, his whole story and being on the front lines. And I have a good friend who's an ER doc who has a 7-month-old or 10-month-old at this point. And he said, I literally don't take lunch on my shifts because my mask goes on and I'm not taking it off till I'm leaving.
Right.
I mean, these guys are working. It's just incredible what they're doing.
Yep.
So much information. I mean, everybody has something to say. You don't know where good information is coming from, bad information. Just filtering it out and just trying to keep each other safe. Really just the most important. Humanity is going through something right now that it's never faced before, at least in a modern day and age of so much information running around. Boy, everybody's a pundit right now, right?
I read, my brother works for the Aspen Institute, which is the world's greatest think tank. And he runs the Business and Society program, and they do the Aspen Ideas Festival.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's like world leaders and CEOs, and it's an amazing thing that happens usually the week after Aspen Food and Wine. It's
an incubator of ideas of people from all over.
Yeah, I mean, so his last track that he moderated, I think it was a couple of years ago, it was Tony Blair, Hillary Clinton, General Petraeus. It was a bunch of different. I mean, I'm talking like, the top people in the entire world, politicians. Yeah. It's nuts in Aspen, and it's. But anyways, they were saying on one of the panels that there's a kid today processes more information than somebody when the New York Times first came out, than somebody that read the New York Times from the time it came out to the time they died.
In a day?
In a day.
Oh my God.
It's incredible.
How many images that is? Hundreds of thousands a day,
just
right?
Nuts. It is absolutely nuts how much information comes in and out and stuff like that. It's crazy.
No wonder our nerves are just fried.
Yeah, we're tense people.
How's your week been?
My week's been good, man.
What have you been doing?
Well, I've been working with my staff and answering lots of questions for them, and working with had an opportunity to continue to work with Senator Gardner and Brian Wanamaker, who is his chief legal counsel. Actually, yesterday asked them to come on a call with, like I said, with the industry leaders today, and we did that with Katie Laser at Eat Denver, and had an awesome call, and spent an hour with Brian afterwards, and then spent a good portion of time with Dan Norberg, who's the regional administrator for the SBA as well. The bill, I think I forwarded it to you. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't worked through it yet.
Yeah, well, it's 880 pages.
Okay, I'll get right on that.
Yeah, so I'm sure you'll be ready to give everybody a report tomorrow.
Did you take that all in? How are you dissecting that?
Well, I mean, my number one concern for is the small business and the unemployment piece of it, and I'm no expert in unemployment. Have a little more insight into the small business piece of it. So we have we know what the bill is. There's a loan forgiveness portion of it, and that's the Small Business Act. So I'll get you the name of the actual act here. I'll just pull it up on my phone. I apologize. And it's called the CARES Act. And so the CARES Act talks about, it's got a ton of different stuff in there. So one of them is like I said, is the loan forgiveness program. And what that is that small businesses that are under 500 people have the ability to go out and through an SBA 7A lender. So it's going to go to the bank. So you're not going actually through the SBA, but it's an SBA approved lender, 7A approved lender.
Up to $5 million on that one?
Well, it's up to $10 million, but there's a formula. You take your payroll, a month's payroll, basically, and you can use either your average of this year, or you can take this exact same time last year, and you apply a 2.5 multiple to that, and it's 1 month, and that's what the total is, and it's supposed to cover you sort of like over the next 8 weeks or so.
Does that jive with what?
No, it's not enough. No, not enough. But hear me out first. So you've got, so that's going to be able to be used for rehiring people. And if you haven't laid people off, it's an incentive to keep people on, pay them their salary. You have to pay them 75%. I would recommend paying all, because the unemployment insurance pays 100% as well. And that's through June 30th on the UI side. So there is a disconnect between that particular bill and the unemployment benefit. But there is other legislation. There's going to be much more. There's going to be more bills coming through. Yeah, we're not done with this at all.
Are there provisions that allow that to reopen this, or would that be just a dovetail off of other legislation that will be passed as an aside?
Well, no, it's going to be new legislation, and it's going to, my experience with stuff like this is that you get that first kind of wave out, and then a lot of stuff that they started throwing into the bill on this time, you're going to start getting it gets more political, so it can get more frustrating if you're following it too closely. But the reality is that they've got this first piece out. And then what they do is they make a determination after 8 weeks whether or not your payroll in terms of headcount and in terms of total payroll is similar to what it was during the period that you used to calculate the loan amount. And if it is, then the loan is forgiven. And the loan can be used for payroll, rent, healthcare, debt, any sort of like debt prior to March 1. So in the restaurant industry, like for example, if you have outstanding invoices and things like that, and so there's some confusion with that. Some places it says the interest on the debt, and some places it says the debt. I've been told that it is the debt. So that's that piece of it. And to kind of further expand upon what your question was, it is not enough for most people, but it does get you going, and you can kind of make your people whole and get them back working. It's supposed to be an incentive to get people off the unemployment line and back to work.
Even if there's no work?
Well, that's up to you. If there's no work, if I'm paying people, they're working, even if they're working from home. And I don't, if you're asking how you do that in the restaurant business, you put a good training schedule together, and, you should have that stuff. If you don't have that stuff, then, shame on you. But, you can do tons of education virtually. You can do tons of meetings. You can do, there's all kinds of different stuff that can happen. And our kitchens are still open, so we'll have access to a greater pool of people that can kind of come in and rotate in and out, after the shutdown is done. So we're going to go with who we have currently. And then when the 2-week quarantine period is over, what do they call it? Shelter in place.
Shelter in place. Yeah.
Shelter in place is over. Then what we'll do is, we'll start having these guys come back in and work some other.
Is there a pecking order you go with that, or is it just open the floodgates back in, or do you just start adding as you see fit for your team? I guess that's an internal thing, right?
Yeah, I don't. That question really hasn't come up. I don't know the answer to that. There are going to have to be some decisions that are made, but I don't have a really great answer for that. My guess is probably, seniority is going to play a big role.
Sure. And again, your structure is going to be different than the guy at Columbine Steakhouse on Federal here.
Yeah, everybody's going to have to make the decisions that are best for their businesses, and that's not, that's none of my business, but we'll figure it out and do what we think is right. And I'm pretty confident in how we make decisions. So there's the second thing, and we talked about this the other day, was the SBA. Mm-hmm. And the SBA has these EIDL loans, the EIDL loans. So that's economic interference disaster loan. And the EIDL loan has been around forever. It's sort of a rural program for tornadoes that, I think we talked about this the other day, tornadoes that hit small towns and stuff like that. And they kind of took the framework of that and rolled that out, across the country. And it wasn't really working when they first started talking about it. The math just didn't work for urban small businesses, especially restaurants, because there were two provisions there that were very restrictive. One was called credit elsewhere, which basically said that if you had the ability to get credit elsewhere, whether that be a bank or you had like a wealthy investor, even if your dad was wealthy and helped you out, you can't get that SBA loan under typical SBA rules. That was waived. And
that's a win, isn't it? Or is there an abusive aspect of that?
No, it's a huge win because, restaurants are a little different. They're almost like independent films. I mean, you have people that want to invest in them, just throw 25 grand at it because they want to be part of it, and they're worth tons of money, and they just want to say they're, and to exclude all those businesses. And, in my case, having 9 businesses and say I have one investor like that, my other 8 businesses suffer. That didn't make any sense. But the SBA can't waive that. That's a statutory thing. So that has to get waived in Congress. So the second thing was the standard size provision, which capped total revenues at $8 million. And, if you're Justin Cucci or Tori Gard or Alex Seidel or Jen Jasinski,
you're out.
You're out. You have 2 restaurants and you're out. And these things really function as separate entities. You know what I'm saying? They're separate businesses. So
I mean, a lot of times in business, one may subsidize the other, but when it comes to something like this, you don't want to break that down to where, this one lives, this one dies because of that.
That's right. And so that was waived as well. So those are two things that were a huge win. So, this morning, when we were on the call, I think that the prevailing thought was that, hey, you have to choose one or the other. Typically you can't do the disaster loan and another loan. What we've come to find out is that you can't. They are meant to be used in parallel, but you can't use the payroll loan, right? The loan forgiveness program, and then turn around and go get an EDL to use for payroll too. You can't do that.
So you can use them in conjunction. But
yeah, you could use it for other uses.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow, that's great clarity on that one.
Yeah, it's a huge thing.
Go back to the employees thing. Sonia Riggs from the Colorado Restaurant Association. The 500 employees.
Yep.
She intimated that would be revised from location to location. Is it still all encompassed?
It's a per location number. Yeah, they made it so that you can pretty much anybody can apply for it.
Gotcha.
These are very loose. You're going to be. These are 100% backed by the Treasury. So you're going to be able to go in and so with the loan forgiveness, I think that money is going to come a lot quicker. Personally, this is an opinion, by the way, not a fact, but I think that money is going to come a lot quicker just because you're going to be able to go to an Alpine bank or something like that and deal with those guys and they'll get it out. And then you have, the SBA. I don't know how they're going to process all this stuff. I mean, the application process alone is 67 pages long for an SBA. Wow. So
what's the time frame on that too, of processing?
I don't know. I've been told sort of a range.
It's got to be a flood.
Yeah, I think for the biggest thing is how quickly can you get it approved, and then how quickly are the funds available. And I know that the Treasury is really demanding that the funds are available pretty quickly. So I think, to be honest with you, I have to say that I think the government did a good job on that piece of it. In terms of
from Juan Padro, that's interesting thing. But you have seen some really cool bipartisan work right now.
Yeah.
I mean, working with Cory Gardner's office, he's impressed the hell out of you.
He has impressed the hell out of me. And I think I talked to a couple other folks that I'll leave their names out of it. I don't know if they want their names in between it, but are definitely staunch liberals. And
I don't know if they vote for Elizabeth Warren like you want.
Well, but they said the exact same thing. They were really impressed because call today, field questions and finding answers and exchanging information, and it was good. It was really a good process. I thought people were really impressed with him, and this guy Brian that works on his team is something else. So he's amazing. So
there was a lot of feet dragging this week,
man. And you know what? And can I tell you something? Yeah. That bill from Monday to today is not that different.
Really?
No, not really. Not really at all. So I don't understand how that thing took so long. There was some grandstanding going on, and my mother's going to kill me. And I actually like Nancy Pelosi quite a bit, but man, not the right time for that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I find that kind of stuff, especially. Anyway, I have been hearing commercials from law firms saying, let us help you fill out your business interruption insurance. And you see Wolfgang Puck and Thomas Keller coming to the forefront now, trying to pursue that. Riff on that if you have anything.
I mean, you have to have money to fight that. I mean, at the end of the day, there's maybe, some sort of, I think what's going to end up happening is that they're going to work with the insurance companies and probably maybe roll some money through the terrorist, if any sort of act of terrorism occurs or something like that.
But is it a better protocol to go through those channels of the first year insurance? Is it better for all of us collectively and then have the federal government go in and pick up the pieces from the insurance company?
Look, man, I mean, that needs to change. I mean, I think that's an oversight, but that is, that's in the contract. And whether it's right or wrong, that is the contract. They don't have to do that, and it's shitty that they don't, but if you're going to fight it, go ahead and fight it. That ain't solving your problem today.
I mean, what the
That's
hell
not going to, that fight's not getting solved.
But what else would
month.
constitute interruption in business?
In the contracts, it has to do with your physical space being damaged.
Interesting.
Loopholes.
Loophole. Well, it's not a loophole. It's pretty clear. It's still shitty, but it's clear.
I mean, listen, there is no insurance for something
well,
like that.
Isn't Corona damaging everything? So doesn't that count? It's on a surface.
Well, I mean, there's apparently many lawyers that are going to be making that argument. And look, if you're Thomas Keller or Wolfgang Puck and you've got that kind
of a voice.
Yeah, you got a big voice, and I applaud them for going after that. I hope they can make those changes. I think they'll probably have some luck down the road. We saw big changes after 9/11, and we saw big changes after SARS. I don't doubt that we'll see more changes today. But
is that a political play or is that an actual business play right there? Do you think from those guys? I mean, they know they have a voice. Are they driving down a dead end street?
No, I don't think so. I think it's important to have these conversations and when you're somebody that's in the public eye, I don't care if it's locally here or it's, worldwide, like Thomas Keller and Wolfgang Puck, or, you do have a responsibility at certain times, and it's important that certain people step up and get the conversation going, and I think it's a lot, depending on what the subject is, we saw with Colin Kaepernick, all that type of stuff. I mean, he used his platform was vilified for it by one half of the population and celebrated for on the other half. And I think, any type of controversial situation, you're going to have a very similar outcome. With this in particular, it's a little less risky for those guys because I think everybody's kind of feeling for small business right now. So, yes, is there some politics? Yeah, I mean,
I can't see them in small business. First of all, I don't go there with that.
Well, they were at one point, and I think that it's fair to say, that those guys probably have a better understanding of what it means to be a small restaurateur, for example, because they did start somewhere, So, and I don't know either one of them. I've never met either one of them. You might want to talk to Jen Jasinski, who's a Wolfgang protege, and I certainly have plenty of kids that have worked for me that have worked for Thomas Keller, but. I don't know those guys. I can't comment on that, but I'd like to think they're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a practical way to actually piece together your business, and I don't know if that's right now practical.
That's not practical at all. I'll answer that for you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Juan.
Yeah.
Practical for you. What is practical for you right now?
Right now is to have Katie, our CFO, really work through all these numbers and figure out what they mean.
The more you talk about her, I think she's just a genius, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's brilliant. Yeah, she's the best person ever. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. What kind of things is she working through right now? Do you feel like she's got a grasp, or is she learning as she?
Well, everybody's learning, but some people learn faster. So, and she learns pretty fast. So I just saw actually an email go through to Corey Gardner's people of a financial model as to why this doesn't work for 8 weeks. So she put it together for Brian. So it's pretty awesome that she was able to do that. It is 5:20, and we left that meeting at 1:20. So in 4 hours.
Wow,
that's pretty amazing.
And that moves the needle.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does.
Absolutely.
Sure does.
Next week, business wise, what's up?
We're gonna stick with our plan, and we're gonna work. We're gonna do our curbside and our delivery, third party delivery, and then what we're gonna do is we're partnering with Adam Schlegel, who's definitely like top of the food chain industry leader. Had called and said. Actually, he called while I was here last time and said, "Hey, I want to put this program together. We want to raise some money. We want to, start using some of our chef talent to get some food out, to some folks in need." So he's got our group and Alex Seidel, who's visited with you the following day and who's a great guy, and Jen Jasinski, and then the Sage Hospitality folks. So we're all starting next week, and we're hoping to get it up to 10 restaurants to do 500 meals a day each to get out to those in need. So
who are you seeing as those in need right now?
Well, it could be homeless shelters. It could be battered women shelters. It could be, there's lots of.
Why weren't we doing this before?
I'm going to be controversial. We did not have good city leadership.
How controversial that is.
We had city leadership that just really didn't understand this situation at all.
we're seeing it right now,
Yeah.
and we're looking at folks that want to do that. It's interesting, and I see that just the drain is what I'll call it, the drain on folks in hospitality. It amazes me how each day they get up and they're not even thinking of themselves; they're thinking about how they can serve other folks right now.
I mean, people are all that matters, man.
It's a continuum.
Yeah,
that I'm seeing right.
All these buildings will get filled up again at some point. So
that's for sure. That's where your stance is, and in fairly good spirits as I see you on a Friday. I would think, knowing you as small as I do, is that I would think that if the business portion of this was not in place and working towards a fix or an answer, that maybe your demeanor wouldn't be as great right now. So you're seeing some.
I'm pretty consistent, man.
Are you really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't grow up with much, so if I have a pillow and a roof over my head, I'm fine. Yeah.
I appreciate that, because I was speaking about the stimulus package earlier, and I'm fortunate enough that I'm still employed by my current employer, along with them sponsoring to do this show, that if a check came to me, I would give it back to the community, because I have a roof over my head, health insurance, food, and a car to get here and there. I don't need anything else right now.
That's right.
We're seeing a lot of that, a whole lot of that. But then here we are. What are we? 12 days since the restaurants have shut down their dining rooms, and one day, and what are we calling it? The
Shelter in place, and physical distancing.
I just did a 3-day juice cleanse.
Did you really?
Yeah, I didn't eat any hard food for 3 days.
Oh,
that's fantastic. You got to do that, and you bolstered your immune system by doing that too. What's amazing by doing those things is you kind of see through food what certain allergies, dairy, how it affects you, and those. I bet you breathe great right now.
Yeah, I cleanse every couple months. So yeah, just 3 days.
I did. I don't know, a few weeks back. I did a week of just the juice cleanse.
Yeah,
which is basically I did the apple, and I did lemon, and I did water, just to keep your blood sugar going. But the cleanse, but the clarity that you come into in your mind. Are you feeling pretty clear right now in your brain?
It's funny. For some reason, in mid-February, I decided that I was like, I'm just going to take a month off from alcohol and eating at the restaurants as much as I was eating and those types of things. And just because, I didn't do, everybody does their dry January and whatever it is. And for me, I don't know, it doesn't really matter when you do that type of stuff, but I do it when I feel like I need to.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of kept rolling into this. So I'm, my mind is pretty clear. So it's always pretty clear, but it's especially clear today.
Yeah. What are some of the calls that you're getting right now from folks?
A lot of media, a ton of media, and then just other restaurant owners. I'm learning a ton from a lot of really smart people, John and Bergamo and Adam, and just the folks that obviously work within our group that are really smart, and just trying to learn as much as I can and get people's interpretations of things, and staff. A lot of really uplifting, people that are grateful for. Our approach to handling this particular situation. So that's been super uplifting. And then, we have, not as many as I would have thought, troubled calls with a few here and there. Hey,
SOS calls,
kids that are worried about rent and things like that, and just kind of making sure that they have the right resources and making sure that they know that somebody like me has their back, cause they don't have any power in the situation. You know what I'm saying? They feel helpless, and that's not cool at all. So
Papa Juan.
Yeah. Oh man.
Papa Bear.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's interesting because politics, we're talking about bipartisan people coming together. Humanity actually is, turning a different leaf right now. Politics transcends into food and beverage. Don't make no mistake.
For sure.
And especially in business and restaurants. Are you finding that the local community of that, friendly spirit of are you coming together a little bit more locally with folks?
I would say that the folks in Denver that typically function together still are. And then the folks in Denver that are usually a little bit more quiet still are, and the folks in Denver that don't do things the right way still are. So it's been, but for those folks, now it's public and everybody knows. So.
Yeah. I called this the money week, the week to where people go, okay, looking at my ledgers, what's in my bank account, who do I owe, who do I pick to pay first relationships being paramount right now, people doing business with other people, getting your house in order. It struck when Troy Gard was on the show yesterday, and I really enjoyed that interview of, it seemed like employees first, no matter what, take care of your employees first. And then it gets into, okay, vendors. Let's make sure that our vendors are okay. And then another thing that struck me now is I said, well, what is it that you see that maybe you could do differently a little bit with business? And he went right to renegotiating leases and rent, and maybe having a better feel-good feeling in his stomach that he didn't have before. That struck me as very interesting.
Him and I have the exact same landlord for our biggest issue with rent. So I'm very close. We talk quite a bit about that, and because it's a big investment bank and a big development group, and how that stuff works, and that's been a pain in the ass, but Troy's a good person, and Nikki's a good person, and I know that they're going to do the right thing, and I know that they're working really hard to take care of everybody that they can. So
he had a fire in his belly that he hasn't felt in quite some time.
Well, he's competitive, and that's probably the number one thing that I love about him, so he's not going to roll over, that's for sure.
Oh, here's a question I asked him that I didn't ask you that I would love to, and we'll end it with this. What are the traits right now that you possess inside of yourself that you're really leaning on right now to get through?
I would say emotional intelligence and empathy, probably the two. And I think we talked maybe a little bit about that last time. Frankly, leaning on my resources. So there's no ego in a situation like this, right? We're all the same. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or, if you're whatever it is. Yeah. I mean, everybody's kind of in the same situation, and all we have is each other. So, definitely, putting the ability to put your ego aside, I think is like really, really, really important.
I was going to throw one at you that I identify of you, scrappy. You're scrappy as hell, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would mean that I don't win that often. I'm just scrappy. But
did you used to throw hands around a little bit as a kid?
Well, I played hockey for 35 years and I boxed. So, yeah, I've thrown some hands.
Well, I guess so, right?
Yeah.
I guess so. Now you're a lover, not a fighter.
Well, 50-50.
Hey, Jay, take a swing at it.
Savage love. Savage love.
Savage love. Hey, first of all, yesterday I asked you to come on. And you said, hey, maybe not. Let me get you did, and you got a better grip on it, and you came in today. That means the world to me. And I know you're getting media calls up the wazoo.
Yeah, well, I told you I would. So,
I know you would. Yeah. Man of your word. Yep. You've always been. So. And we need a lot of that right now.
You got it, man.
Believing in people and what they do. We're going to close this show out tomorrow. Back to the Modern Eater Show on the weekend, 6 to 8 p.m. live on iHeartRadio, 6:30 KHOW. And then we'll be back at it again, 2 p.m. starting Monday. The Modern Eater Show will continue. Juan, thank you so much.
Thanks, Juan.
You bet, guys.
And
thank you for the hand sanitizer.
I brought you guys food from SEÑOR Bear as well.
Oh my God, we've been fed so well today. I can't wait.
You got enchiladas and burritos, and you got guac and chips and the whole deal.
Thank you so much, Juan.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Jay, fantastic week, man. It was a tough one, and we even went another half an hour longer tonight, which was
good,
worth it. But you guys tuning in, it's fantastic. Like our stuff, you've been doing a great job all week. I think collectively this week we had 60,000 viewers.
Holy crap.
Yeah, a lot
Pardon
of
my almost French.
You guys are fantastic. Let's keep up the good work. Anything you want to tell us, let us know. You can reach me, Greg at themoderneater.com, Rebecca.berry@forth.com. As always, you're doing great work.
Thank you. I'm learning as we go, and you guys are providing great coaching. I've never done this before.
And you want people to know to wash what?
Your fucking hands.
Your
one thing I do want to add.
Hope your boss isn't watching.
Oh, he does. He knows it's important. One thing I do want to add as we go into the weekend, which I feel is important, is that again, keep an eye on people you're not hearing from. School work is sometimes an outlet for people in domestic situations. So, we have resources. If you have somebody you feel is in need or in trouble, please reach out to us. This is critical. People are really struggling, and we're here for you. That's why we're dedicating ourselves and our time to be there and give you the best information, but keep an eye out for those who need it.
We'll do what we can. And if you have any program notes, we do have a text line, 720-715-3311. That will get into Jay's ear and just recommend a guest, and we'll see what happens. Just coming in from the Colorado Restaurant Association, which we do want to take a second. Sonia Riggs, you're doing a great job. But the federal relief bill called the CARES Act, I think we just pretty much covered most of what's in this email with Juan Padro. That's fantastic. Thank you. Tune in tomorrow night, 6 p.m., The Modern Eater Show, either on 630 KHOW or right here where you know where to go. Our stream on the Facebook page or YouTube. YouTube, we don't give much love to YouTube, but go over to our YouTube channel. Give it a like. You'll get some notifications there. And in the meantime and in between time, take care of yourself and others. Be safe, stay home, and wash your hands.
Effing hands.
That's right. See you tomorrow.